This is Ben Jordan, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is Steve Bowtie Bryant here. Back in the 90s, I was a pro wrestling photographer for the South, and I released what might have been one of the original sets of indie trading cards. I ran across some of these original sets. They were up in Randall Fanning's attic all this time. PG-13 rookie card, Ricky Morton, George Weingroff as the Sheik, Chris Champion, Reno Riggins, Billy Montana, Gary Valiant, the Scorpion, the Medic, Rick Reynolds, Jeff Daniels, Mephisto and Dante, Ben Jordan, Steve Neely, Marcus Woodrow, Clinton Charisma, Little Farmer John. If you'd like an opportunity to get these cards, contact me now. You can get them for only $49.99. Contact me at stevebowtiebryant at iCloud.com. Get your set now while supplies last.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. And as usual, I am here with my brother from the same father and mother, Jared the Plastic Sheik Street. And guess what, y'all? My boy had a birthday. How was your birthday, Sheik?
Man, it was good. We hung out with some friends, went camping.
Was it glamping or camping?
I was in a tent, brother, with no wind flow going through the tent, and it was about 80 degrees in the tent. So.
Ooh, where'd you go?
It's in South Carolina, Lake Kiowee, I think is actually. It's near Clemson, kind of.
Okay, yeah.
I got some friends down that way, and
yeah,
it was hot.
Well, how was Little Sheik on his birthday?
Yeah, we went. My buddy has a boat and took us out behind the boat tubing and stuff like that. And nice. Little Sheik is quite a fan of tubing behind the boat, and
ooh,
he likes to do that. He's always up for it. He wanted we told him on the way down, we're like, well, hey, we're not going to be home for your birthday, so you may not get any presents to open on your birthday. And he's like, well, I'm little, I want a present. So
come on.
I stopped at Walmart and got him a Matt Riddle figure. He'd wanted a Matt Riddle figure a while back, and he always wants a Lamborghini. And and so I got him a Lego Lamborghini.
Nice.
Mom and Dad, I told them about it, and they're like, well, he sounds like his Uncle Jimmy wanting a Lamborghini.
Well, he might have something coming from Uncle Jimmy and Aunt Michelle for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So see that in the mail soon, hopefully. But yeah, he's liking Lamborghinis. That's awesome. Yeah. Lamborghini taste on a Silverado budget. How's that?
Well, his budget's like a Power Wheel budget or something like that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, you know who has a boat and probably has a tube that can haul him behind it really well is Pawpaw. So
yeah, we'll have to get Pawpaw to haul him around behind us.
All you have to do is tell him he likes it, and that'll be the next thing Pawpaw does. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we know you had a birthday, a happy birthday, from all the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling listeners. And, today we've got a great episode. The wild boy himself, Ben Jordan. I can't wait to have him on.
I got to go ahead and shout it out. Happy birthday to Doug Markham, too. So
happy birthday to Gator McAllister as well.
Yeah,
happy
Gator
birthday
McAllister,
to Steve Neely as well. Listen to how many wrestlers have your birthday. I mean, it's crazy, brother. Everybody, I posted that, and then everybody's like, oh, I got a birthday today, too. And I was like, well, it's a collection. So, yes, happy birthday to Plastic Sheik. Happy birthday to Plastic Sheik Jr. Happy birthday to Doug Markham. Happy birthday to Gator McAllister. Happy birthday to Steve Neely. Happy birthday to whoever else has the same birthday as the Plastic
Macaulay
Sheik.
Culkin does.
Macaulay Home Alone. Golly. Everybody. So, yeah. Wow. Well, anyway, so, yeah, it was a big day. But obviously, last week was covered in a lot of sadness for the wrestling world. Unfortunately, not only did we lose one of the greatest of all time, in my personal opinion, I think Terry Funk is on par with one of the greatest ever, but we also lost possibly one of the greatest of all time that would be in, Bray Wyatt. And I don't know, man. It's, Terry was in a spot, he was older. He'd had a full career.
It kind of seemed like it was gonna be his time soon anyway, from some of the health updates you've been hearing about him. So
yeah. Doesn't
make it any easier or anything like that, but
right. Man, I just played Desperado over and over again and just thought about Terry Funk, man. But then the very next day, I'm actually recording something with Wolfie, and I look on my phone, check Twitter, and I'm like, hold on, because you never can tell anymore with this stuff.
No, there's fake stuff and everything like that. But man, you texted me that, and I was like, what?
Yeah, 36 years old, man. Sad
for a second. I saw, his shoot name, Wyndham Rotunda, and I was like,
yeah.
I was like, huh? I was like, no way. I was like, no, that's not possible.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Apparently he died due to some heart complications that had, come along from having COVID and stuff like that. I don't really know. I mean, that's kind of a broad stroke of a paintbrush when you say some of that. Because you assume like a heart attack or like a blood clot or something like that from something.
Right. Yeah.
You just don't know. And I mean, it's a private time for the family. Maybe more will come out with it, and maybe it won't, but that's fine. It's their business. But really sad, third generation wrestler.
Yeah.
From back to his grandfather, Blackjack Mulligan, his father, Mike Rotunda, uncles, Barry and Kendall Wyndham.
Man.
His brother, Bo Dallas,
that's on par with the Von Erichs. Maybe even more than the Von. I'm trying to think of a greater wrestling family. I know there's so many out there, but man, that's got to be one of them up there for sure. Oh
man. Yeah.
But
you look at the star potential, and and they were all there. I still think that his character, that kind of cult leader character with Eric Rowan, Luke Harper, and Braun Strowman behind him. I mean, that could have been an all-time faction. That Wyatt family could have been an all-time faction with him having a multi-year title reign with those behemoths behind him. I mean,
absolutely. And why they never pulled the trigger on him, I have no clue. I know they did in certain instances, but why they never fully put the rocket on his back. He was, that's one thing. Just because our guy isn't winning all the time, or the guy you like isn't winning, doesn't mean they're not eating good. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, though, you like to see the guy you like have more success as a fan, and I would have loved to have seen them. I love that Waylon Mercy, Cape Fear type gimmick.
Love it.
I love that Cape Fear movie, Robert Mitchum, De Niro. It's just sad, man. It's just sad. And, I know this, there's a hole to fill right now in wrestling. And honestly, what I would do, and I don't want to go too far into this. Like I said, we got a big show coming up with Ben Jordan, but I would maybe plug Bo Dallas in and just let him go at it, man.
Maybe do something with that Uncle Howdy character, if that was truly going to be him and under all that, if they were truly, I think they say they had used him in that like suit, but if they were truly going to use him as that character, maybe flesh it out a little bit and have him do something. I think it would be the ultimate thing if he's into it too. Maybe he's not into it. Maybe but a lot of times with wrestling, the show goes on. It's WWE did a masterful video for both Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt. Terry's kind of more brought a smile to my face, just like seeing his career, and Bray's kind of teared me up thinking about, gone too soon.
Yeah, it absolutely is true. And
whoever does those videos, a lot of times with WWE, does some masterful work with some music. Like they put these songs in there, and it's just like, wow. whoever does that has got some talent at picking out songs to put with stuff. So,
and if they're ever hiring, holler at me.
Seriously, man,
that would be one of my dream jobs for sure. So.
But I mean, I've even seen like Impact and AEW and all, and even Powertown Wrestling had something. Bray Wyatt. I mean, like a lot of organizations had something out there for Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk, and it's good to see all that unity.
Absolutely is. Very cool. And, we just say this from Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. We wish both the Funk family and the Rotunda family our best. And, condolences to you both. Thank you for what you gave to wrestling. Thank you for what you did for wrestling. And thank you for entertaining us. And, I mean, that's the long and short of it, honestly, is thank you for entertaining us,
Yeah, and, don't want to imagine being in either situation.
Right. It's the way it is, man. But, I know things have started off on a downer, obviously, but we want to bring it back to an upper because you said it earlier, just like things are, the show must go on. And we've got a big show ahead of us. And I think right now, to bring everyone out of it and bring them right back up, I think we need to get a wild boy on here. What do you say?
Absolutely, man.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Well, we'll be right back after these messages with the wild boy himself, Ben Jordan.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis. We're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
All right, we are back with more from the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. And as you've heard us talking about in the intro, and as you've seen all the pictures and promotional materials all over our social media sites, we've got the one and only Ben Jordan. What's up, Ben? How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, Jimmy. You, Jared, y'all doing okay?
Yeah, we're great.
Yeah, we're doing great, man.
We're having fun.
Good to talk to y'all. Glad y'all having me on your show. It's really an honor.
Yes, we're having one of my favorite people on today, and I say that because I've said it before in the intro. I wanted to say it again, Ben. We didn't really get to know each other during my time in the business, but I've really gotten to know you since then, and I just appreciate you as a human being, not only a wrestler, but as a human being, Ben. You're a great dude, man. Well,
those words mean so much to me, and I really appreciate it. And like I said, I'm glad I got to know you, and I appreciate what you and Jared and even the Wolfie show, y'all bringing my time in wrestling back to life for me, because it seemed like, everything's done. I don't watch wrestling anymore. And all of a sudden I'm talking about the good old days.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that from y'all. I really do.
Hey,
Maybe
that's what we do it for, right, Jared? I mean, it's the whole name of the show, I mean, if we could, I could make myself happy watching old wrestling all day long, and I don't even have to watch the new stuff, and I still consider myself a very active wrestling fan. You know what I mean? Even though I don't really care much for the new stuff, I can go on YouTube and find all my old buddies and, watch them wrestle 10, 20, 30 years ago. So to me, it's a lot of fun, and that's the whole point of this show, and we've talked about it before, but we're going to get this thing going here. And Ben, we always start everything off with the question from the Sheik here.
All right, Ben. So my question that I think lets me get to know you, lets the audience get to know you a little bit. If you had your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestlers, people have influenced you or your favorites or whatever, if you give me like 4 or 5 names of who would be on your list.
Okay. I've really got 2 sets, because I had really like two different wrestling lives in my lifetime. And to go from being a kid and watching, I would have to say Jackie Fargo.
Okay. Yeah.
Bill Dundee.
Awesome stuff.
Eddie Gilbert and Ric Flair. That's my big time all time. And then I have to go to my local, my Tennessee wrestling roots, and the number one guy on that's got to be Tommy Higgins.
Oh yeah,
I love Tommy.
Man.
Without him, I mean, he's done so much for me in my career. And then you got to go with Gypsy Joe.
Yeah.
And then I heard the podcast today, Mr. George Weingroff talk about somebody smooth to work and just I don't know, just such a great wrestler.
Dangerous man too.
You don't get on his wrong side.
Yeah. It's so gentle of a killer. I'm just kidding, man. He was one of those. So.
Everybody knew you don't piss George off. And, hey, I had some great matches with George, but yeah, I had to mention those in local, independents in Tennessee.
I cut you off. Did you have one more? Or you said
I didn't. I got about 1 million more honorable mentions. You got Tim Ernesto, Joe Cagle, Jeff Daniels. You can just go down the line. You got Shane Morton, Rick Reynolds.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee is so rich in talented wrestlers, and we all can't make it and be the big stars.
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you, if you lived in Tennessee back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you could go within 50 miles of your house any which way and find a good wrestling show.
Yeah, that is just a beautiful. I mean, it gives me chill bumps when you talk about it, because it's almost like the guys that made it, had they not been there, had they not been the ones to make it, you could have placed other guys right behind them. You know what I mean? It would have almost been like just right. It literally, I guess, was just right place, right time, and Yeah, it's crazy to talk about. And I mean, I do agree with you. The best description of the Middle Tennessee wrestling scene specifically, but that's the one I love so much. It was just absolute rich with talent. And that, we've gotten a lot of the guys on the show. We've got a lot more to come. But, today specifically, we had to have the Wild Boy himself, Ben Jordan. Now, we know you were a part of a famous tag team, the Wild Boys, Mr. Steve Neely. We're going to have you guys on together in the future. But today we're going to discuss Mr. Ben Jordan.
All right. Let's go.
You're ready. I love it. I like the confidence. It's nice. Okay, so let's go with this. Your younger days. Okay. Where were you born? Where did you go to high school? That kind of stuff.
I was born in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I went to Cheatham County Central High School.
Nice. Okay. And in high school, did you play sports? Kind of. What would you say?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I played football, and I was a little bitty guy. But I was tough as nails, and I wanted to just keep getting bigger. I wanted to be that football player.
Yeah.
And funny thing, I got it up there, and the defensive backs coach was also the wrestling coach.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, Ben, I want you to come out for the team. We're going to put you in the 118s.
Okay.
I said, no, coach. I'm going to be a football player. I'm getting bigger. I'm at 125. And I kept going up. Every year he'd say, Ben, come out for the wrestling team. And I'm like, no, I want to be a football player. Looking back at it now, I think I should have took his advice and, did the wrestling thing.
I mean, you could get yourself, you could take care of yourself in the ring. I know that, but those extra elements that some of your buddies have and our friends have that may have done you well on down the line. But what did you play in football? I got to know, running back or linebacker or something like that?
By the time I got to high school, everybody was so much faster. So I ended up being a cornerback.
Oh, okay.
And, of course, I hit the weights really good. So my senior year, my coach decided he's going to make me a pulling guard. And I'm thinking, I'm the rover, defensive corner. I'm a headhunter. I'm going to jack somebody up.
Yeah.
And he's going to make me an offensive guard. And I'm like, now I got to learn all the plays. I just wanted to just, go hit somebody, tackle, smear the man with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's having me learn blocking plays my senior year, and I'm going, I was going to have fun this year. But it was still fun, but I had to learn a lot, and I was like, dang, okay.
That's awesome.
What we did.
That's awesome.
So Ben, when did you actually start liking professional wrestling?
From the time I was a kid. I had a neighbor who lived across the street. Of course, I might have followed in his footsteps a little bit. He always liked to have a drink or two. Mm-hmm. And he would gather up all the kids and say, hey, come on, wrestling's on. Look, it's Jim Kent and the Bounty Hunters. it's the Moondogs. It's Jackie Fargo. And so we're like, what is this stuff he's talking about? We go in there, and we got mesmerized by it.
Yeah.
So we just, from then on, always, you know, and then as a kid, my grandmother lived in Nashville and run a beer joint, and it was close to the fairgrounds, and it was really right off Murfreesboro Road where they filmed the TV show that aired in Nashville at that time. I'm pretty sure it was Nick Goulis's show.
Okay,
we would get free tickets to go down and be on the studio wrestling. So we're sitting there in the audience.
Wow.
We'd do that on Saturday mornings, and then Wednesday night, you know, like take us to Grandma so we can go to the fairgrounds and watch it. You know?
Yeah, once you get that live wrestling bug, you got bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you couldn't shake it after you got it. You know, and we did like everybody else. We built the rings, you know, in the yard and stuff, and of course learned how to run the ropes or work the ropes as a kid because we'd use garden hose nailed to a post. Yeah. And my buddy, you sling him in the ropes, and he'd hit it full force and break the rope.
Yeah,
so we're like, no, you got to act like you hit the rope,
right?
And then run back at me.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. So let me ask you a quick question on that, because now, who were some of the guys you remember watching live? You know, when you would go watch the shows, who were some of the names?
Easy, because I mentioned Jackie Fargo. Tommy Wildfire Rich was just getting started good.
Okay, he
was kind of seemed kind of tall and skinny to me at the time. I remember him. He was really getting going good. And of course, then you had Bill Dundee come in, you know, and of course, you know, this around the time you had to split between Goulis, Jarrett. So some of the guys stayed in Memphis area. Some of them come up to Nashville. It was a weird time, but Fargo stayed in Nashville. So kept him there. So, and then I remember they used to wrestle at the women's building at the fairgrounds. It's been long. It got tore down. But anyway, I remember going to the bathroom one Wednesday night, and it was the night they had Andre the Giant there.
Holy cow!
Wow, man.
They had to use a lowered ring because of the way the ceiling.
Yeah.
So they had to use a short ring. First time I've seen a short ring, and I go to the bathroom, you know. So I got to get back out to watch Andre. I come walking out, and I turn and I look, and there's my head, the top of my head is at the bottom of his trunks.
Oh, my God.
Like, I look over, and it's like, oh, my God, I really didn't know what a giant looked like.
Right, right.
I got to see one up real close.
That's amazing.
Real close.
Yeah.
I run on, got my feet. So.
Hello, man. Anyway, so okay, so talking about this real quick. So you said you're doing some stuff with your buddies in the backyard, and what leads you and gets you to training with the superstar, one of the greatest Memphis legends or wrestling legends ever, Mr. Bill Dundee? What led you to getting to that point?
Well, okay. So we would always pack up, the buddy that we did the wrestling in the yard with, we'd always pack up. I mean, we'd pack up in a pickup truck, have that like six, you know, used to those bench seats, you could put about 6-8 people on the front seat, the pickup truck. Yeah. And we'd pack it in, and we would go to the fairgrounds on Wednesday and watch it. So I'd watch it. High school come along, we get driver's license. I'm like asking all the buddies, who wants to go to the fairgrounds? You know, got my license. And, you know, either we'd pack a car full or it'd be me by myself. I wasn't going to miss it.
Yeah,
so
amen.
I was always
awesome.
at the fairground watching. But to me, these were like movie stars. They were untouchable. You couldn't get to this guy.
Superheroes.
So, you know, so I didn't really even think. You know, I thought one day, I want to do that. But, I want to be Richard Petty also. I want to drive a race car. You know, you got all these big dreams.
Of course.
Well, so I went on through high school, decided school ain't for me. So I joined the Marines, did my 4 years in Marines. Of course, kept the weights up, you know. And while I was in, my mom and dad would send me tapes of Memphis, Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler, all those guys. And, of course, Bruno was on. He was one of the favorites with the guys, all the guys on my crew.
Yeah.
They would send those tapes. And when I first sent them, they're like, what is this crap? You know, what is this? And it's like watching a soap opera. By the time I left North Carolina, they were like, when you get home, send us some more tapes. Send us more tapes. Because they got into the storyline, you know, what I was going on in Nashville, Memphis. And so they run an ad on TV for the wrestling school. And I sent in a picture of, me flexing up, at 160 pounds. And, so I sent them that, and I thought, well, they'll call me back. They never called.
Yeah.
So I get out, and I go to the fairgrounds. I'm watching. Finally, they run that again. Well, I left my number. Well, lo and behold, one day the phone rings. We had the old phone on the wall. Phone rings, and my brother goes, "Hey, Ben, come in here. Bill Dundee's on the phone for you." And I'm like, "What? Me?" So I run in there, grab the phone. "Ben Gordon, this is Bill Dundee. Who you want to train to wrestle?" And I said, "Meet me in Gallatin at the gym at 6:00 tomorrow night." I get there, and of course he shoots my dreams, and he's like, "You're too little." He's like, "I'm 205 pounds. I'm 5'7". We're both the same height." He said, "You got to be at least 200 pounds." So I left for 2 years, which I'd go to the fairground. I kept lifting, started powerlifting, getting a little bigger, just staying in good shape. And then finally, Bill looks at me one night at the fairgrounds, and we've been talking, and I had met Jamie and his friend Ronnie. They were the Rock and Roll Dream Team. And I was hanging out with them a little bit. And then Bill's finally like, "Hey, you need to go to school." I'm like, "Well, I'm not big enough yet." And Bill goes, "Oh, yeah, you look big enough." And then he told me the deal about the image. You're up there, the light shining on you. You're going to look 220.
Right.
So,
right. Hold on real quick. I don't want to stop you. That Rock and Roll Dream Team, was that a real team, or was that just a talk?
That was Jamie Dundee and Ronnie Travis.
And did they just talk like they were a team, or were they a real tag team?
No, they were tagging. I went to Elton, Kentucky, and watched them in a show. Sold their pictures at the gimmick table. I think I told this on a Wolfie show, but
it's a great story.
They sold $200 to $400 worth of pictures. They sold every picture they had before they ever got in the ring.
That's amazing.
I was bigger than these guys.
Yeah.
And people were asking me, was I a wrestler? And then that starts giving you the bug.
Oh,
and,
totally.
And then they had rented a limousine and took a limousine, a full stretch limousine from Nashville to right down in Alabama, Athens, Alabama, to wrestle. And I followed them. Me and my buddy followed them because we're going to go watch them wrestle. And they carried that stretch limousine all the way to Athens, Alabama, and wrestle. Wow. Go, boy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's Jay. Now, okay, you're seen by Bill. He's like, "You're going to be fine. Let's handle this." But you did say something about, and I don't want to skip over this because, first of all, thank you for your service in the military. Talk a little bit about your time in the military.
Well, of course, I joined up a delayed entry, go for a year early. I sign up, you wait a year, then you go. Well, in the meantime, my brother and my friend decide they're going to join too. Well, I'm like, wait a minute, this is my gig. I want to leave everybody and get away. Well, I get in there to sign up a year early at 17. My parents wanted me to have a guaranteed job. So I signed this thing to be something in aircraft. Well, my brother, he joins in, and he ended up doing what I want to do. He becomes a grunt. He's carrying an M16. He's, going all over the world being a grunt. And I want to be a grunt Marine, a badass. And here I am. And I did the thing that I bet nobody even knows it happens is I stopped jets with a cable like they do in aircraft carrier on expeditionary runways.
Oh, wow.
Wow, okay,
I never saw this before in my life. But you can't do this in the civilian world. So someone's for on-the-job training.
Right. There's nothing. There's nothing there to. There airplanes. You don't go to an airport and do that job. Exactly.
No, you don't stop jets at the airport. You get a long enough run where they just roll through. They don't have tail hooks.
Right.
I stopped jets for 4 years in the Marines. I loved it. Wouldn't trade for nothing. I had a great bunch of guys I worked with, and wouldn't trade it. But my brother lived my dream of a Marine, and I lived the stopping jets, which I guess was cool in a way too. So
I mean, there's a cool element to that for sure, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't want to skip over that because that's an important part for you, and it's a very important part. I think we love the troops. We're big time supporters of the troops, and for sure we didn't want to skip over that because that's an important part of your life. So telling your story we would be missing out a part there. Well, anyway, you got to Bill Dundee. He says, I think you can do something, kid. You know, you're looking big enough. Let's put you in the ring. Now, talk about the training as far as that goes.
Well, we were going to start out training in Gallatin. Jamie took me up to the ring in Gallatin where they had a ring. And it was the stiffest ring I ever felt. It had like a spring in the middle, but the spring had gotten like caught on the side. So it didn't. You hit in the middle, it was like dead stop. So went up there trained, and then the next time I go, they're like, we're moving to Franklin, Kentucky. Well, and this crisscrosses, when I say Chris, this crisscrosses somebody else's storyline.
Okay.
And I end up in Franklin, Kentucky. And so we're in this one building in Franklin, and the first day I'm there, Bill's on his way. I meet a man by the name of Mike Porter. Okay? Yeah. And he's like, they just loving being Jordan. Hey, you're a good-looking kid. You're gonna do some things in this business. Thank you, sir. And he introduced me to Bruce Swayze.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't know Bruce Swayze, but he was known as the Silver Fox.
Yeah.
He's actually the man that introduced me to Ric Flair.
Oh, okay.
But, so I'm up there the first day. I'm fired up. I'm going. But the man that had moved to town from Texas was Bill Crockett. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was under a mask back in the days as the Golden Eagle, and I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, he had a daughter that went to school that met another young man that ended up in professional wrestling, and that happened later. We went up there and started training. Blah blah blah. I'm training once every Sunday. I'm training with Bill, but during the week I trained with Bill Crockett's son, and we'd train all week, train 2 days a week. And then Bill would show up on Sunday, and that's when we get the real training, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was all fun and good, but I wasn't getting it. I could do arm bars and hip tosses and stuff. I didn't get the storyline. I didn't know what was going on. I was blind to this stuff. Plus, that's where the amateur background comes in.
Sure.
Everything ends up back in a hold. You know, you do the razzle-dazzle, the hit the ropes, the flip, then you go back to the arm or, the leg, whatever you're doing. That's where amateur background comes in. Well, I get with Ronnie Travis one day, and this goes back to one of Wolfie's stories. The old barn and the ring, Candy Divine, the one that Wolfie trained in.
Right.
Ronnie took me to that ring one day, and I said, tell me what's going on. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting the big picture. He gets me in there in that old smelly ring. It was in an old garage, what it was at the time. So it was about rotted down. The floor was about. But Ronnie walked me through how a match goes from start to finish, and how, like, culling it in the ring, and how easy it was, and how it all falls back to all the moves and holds I was learning.
Yeah,
and
putting it together.
I appreciate. Finally, the story. I'm getting the picture now. I can see. And so he taught me that in that old ring up there. And then I'll get back at school, and it's like, oh, I'm a whole new student now because I know what's going on.
Right. So that was one of those light bulb moments, right? Where you?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I get it now.
You know what's crazy? Yeah, Ben, I get those all the time during these interviews. Y'all describe this stuff so well that I've had light bulbs go off during interviews. 100+ episodes with Wolfie, 40+ with my brother. I mean, it's crazy how many interviews that I've done that I've like, holy crap. That finally makes sense. Yeah. My back won't let me do anything in wrestling anymore, but it finally makes sense, like, golly, that's amazing. It took me 20 years to figure it out, but I got it now. But anyway.
So, Ben, what was your, tell us about your first match and, like, what promotion that was with and everything.
Okay, that would have been with Dale Mann up in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That tied into the wrestling school because on Sundays, we'd get done training. We'd go over to the Crockett's house, take showers, whatever, change clothes, and head up to the matches at the fairgrounds in Bowling Green. Well, as Mr. Crockett always told us, old Bill, always carry your boots, carry your gear.
Yeah.
And so, one day we're up there, and Dale Mann says, you got your gear with you? Yes, sir. So he goes, you're in the first match tonight. I'm like, oh, my God. My heart about beat out of my chest. I was so nervous. I was outside gagging, guy heaving because I'm so nervous. I'm like, I'm not ready. But my first match was with a guy called the Wolfman.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know where he is today, but he led me through a match and made me look like $1 million. And I just used my name, Ben Jordan. It's like, because everybody always asks, well, what's your real name? It's Ben Jordan. But when I got up in the crowd got with me. And then week after week, the crowd was with me. I'm like, why change your name?
Right.
So. Yeah, definitely no need to do it at that point. No relation to Wolfie D, right?
No relation. Old guy had a beard down, looked like the Duck Dynasty guys, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Moondoggish a little bit.
yeah, but he was a little bitty skinny guy. But he'd get up in the corner and he'd just howl. He'd make that, just howl like a wolf. But great guy to work with. Had an excellent match, first match.
That's awesome. The Wolf Man. I bet that's just one you'll never forget. It's not just somebody's name, like Joe Johnson or something like that. Yeah, this is the Wolf Man. You'll never forget that. So
never forget it.
Yeah. So, okay, let me ask you this. Now, obviously, you have I got so fired up when we did the interview on the Wolfie Show, Ben. I got so fired up when I looked at your career online, because I would say, if you compared it, you are absolutely one of those guys that are just a true journeyman carpenter. I mean, whatever, man. But your career is just something to marvel at. It's a heck of a resume, brother. It's on par with all the big ones. So we're going to start out with this. Now, everybody starts in their local shows and areas and stuff. But what eventually got you to probably what you would consider at the time the be-all, end-all of the USWA? What led you to the USWA?
Okay. So we did we were doing Bowling Green on Sundays. Okay. I get injured. I'm out for a few months. Okay. And this will go back a little bit, but it comes back around.
Go ahead.
So I'm injured. Well, I come back to the wrestling school. There's this little blonde kid there. And he's doing all of these moves with this foam rubber mat, this rolled up foam rubber. He can do everything. And I'm like, wow, this kid's good.
Yeah.
So then we get to work out together. Can you guess who it is?
I'm going to guess Chris Michaels.
Exactly. I just sent you a picture of us the other day. I didn't know if you'd get who that was.
Yeah, it's a great photo.
But he was there. And of course he got some training by, Tracy and all these other guys. He got so much input from different guys. But I think when I first got there, he was just about self-trained.
Yeah.
That daggum foam rubber mat.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
Yeah.
He's the first person that gave me the Hurricane Rana, which, we called the Frankenstein or whatever. And he's the first person to ever do that to me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And so anyway, so he's there. We get some of these matches. Well, I'm at the fairgrounds and Bill's like, Bill Dundee's there and I'm there. And he goes, Ben, come here. I want you to meet the booker. All right, so I go in, and it's Dutch Mantell, one of my idols from a kid, also. I almost got to meet him.
Yeah.
And Dutch goes, kid, you want to be on TV? I said, yes, sir. And he goes, well, go get me a cup of coffee. I said, yes, sir. So I went and got him a cup of coffee. And he goes, can you go to Memphis in the morning? And or maybe it was the next week. He's like, could you go to Memphis? You got a way to get there? And I'm like, yes, sir. Said, you got your own car? I said, yes, sir. So he goes, well, meet me at this exit, pick me up at this time, and we will go to Memphis. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, I can't wait. And I love Dutch. I get there, I meet him at the Cracker Barrel. I meet him, we get in the car, and I'm thinking, I'm going to ride all the way to Memphis for Dutch Mantell. Oh, my God, am I going to ask him some questions? And we get in the car, we get on the interstate. He tells me which way to go, which I kind of knew. Everything. Yeah. He goes, does this chair recline? And I said, yeah, it's right over on the side. Just grab it. So he reclines back. Next thing I know, Dutch Mantell's snoring in my car. all the way to Memphis. All the way to Memphis.
Not one question, other than answering the answer of "Does this chair recline?" Not one question was asked.
Not one question. He might would raise up everything and goes, "What mile mark are we at?" And I'd tell him, and I'm like thinking, "Is he going to wake up now? We're going to talk. Am I going to get something out?" But no, he got me down there and put me on the TV, and I'm not proud of my first match on TV because I messed up right on TV. So
Gotcha.
Don't look that much. I got down there, and first match wasn't so good, but I kept coming back, and they put me in there, and they put me in with Tony Anthony. And that's when Bill grabbed Tony Anthony, and he pulls us in there where Dave Brown's weatherboard is, and then in the little dark and everything, and he goes, Tony, he said, I trained Ben. He's a good kid. I go, listen, he said, but you got to remember, you need to make him before you break him. And Tony Anthony said, I got you, Bill. He went out there, and of course, we didn't go that long, but he done one of them. He told me, he said, go for a hip toss. I'll block it. Do a backflip. Land on your feet and hip toss. I said, I can't do that. He said, just do it. And of course, I didn't know he was going to help me as much as he did, but we did it, and I hip tossed him. And hey, from there, I was getting better and better matches, and it got to where if I just showed up and I wasn't booked, they would take somebody else off the card and put me in.
Wow. Well, now let me speak on this because and I'm not trying to knock anybody, nobody whatsoever, but I've heard Wolfie tell me several times that some of the Memphis guys were not you had to make them do stuff sometimes, some of the enhancement guys. So I would imagine if you're one of those undercard, you're putting guys over, and I know you and how you're working, I would imagine that makes sense that they would slot you in the spot instead of somebody else,
Yeah. And another thing, what would happen, the good thing was when they bought up the Dallas territory.
Yeah.
And they were sending guys down there, and it was an hour and a half show on Memphis Live TV. Okay. I was like one of the only regular guys left up in Memphis.
Yeah, okay,
so
gotcha.
They would, and I've told you a story about that too. They would put me in there with some of the other enhancement / job guys.
Okay, so
they would put me over the other guys.
Yeah.
Okay. I just watched a match the other day. I think it was me and Keith Erickson. I think it was about a 6 or 7 minute match, and I was green. You could tell I was green. I just kept going back to the armbar the whole match until I pinned him.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he didn't, I'm used to the heel telling the story, kind of leading it on. I was so green as a baby, used to listening, and I'm having to kind of lead this. I didn't know how to get the storyline down. I didn't know how to tell a story at the time.
Right.
And so I just kept going back to what I needed. I did arm dragging back to the arm bar until he finally done some stuff and not done a move and pinned him. That was for like 6 or 7 minutes, and I'm like, oh my God. But that was the first, and I think that might have been the first match I went over on TV. And when they would give the undercard guys, the guys that putting people over, they'd give you $25.
Yeah, okay.
The rest of the guys didn't get paid for TV.
Didn't get paid because
you're getting promoted
for Monday.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, you're on on the up and up. So you're getting pushed. So
right.
Well,
which blew my mind when I learned that, by the way, that some of these guys didn't get paid. And that's why I think Mike Porter must have thought we were on TV when I worked for Porter in Nashville. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I went to Eddie Marlin and I said, I need to get my money. And he looks at me and goes, Ben, when you go over on TV, you don't get money. And I'm thinking, I wanted that $25.
More than the bid. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I'll go back to getting beat. I need my $25.
Oh man,
pin me and pay me, right?
Yeah. I got used to that. So
I was counting on that 25, man. Come on.
I got another kind of serious, but kind of funny but serious story about TV. They put me in one time with a guy named Rob Golden. Never met him before in my life, and good guy from Talking Son. But we went out there, and I was going to go over. But I'm out there, and everything I'm doing, I'm having to muscle him around. I'm having to move him myself.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm getting a little agitated because every time I go to lift him, I'm having to just put everything I got into moving him around. He wasn't going with me too much. And at the time, I'd been taking some Taekwondo. I was going to learn some fancy kicks and stuff for my little short legs, Yeah. And I shot him in for I was going to do a drop kick, and I throwed my front leg forward like in Taekwondo, and I knocked him out cold. Okay, now I'm thinking I'm scared to death. I reached down to grab him, and this is when his head just rolled out of my hand. And I grabbed him up by the short hair on the back of his neck and like, get up, because I've been having to muscle hump him the whole time anyway.
Right.
We call it muscle. I had to, and I'm like, get up. Well, he wasn't no getting up. He was out cold.
Yeah.
Well, what do? I just fall on him and pin him. 1, 2, 3. This is how green I was. All right. They had 2 more minutes of TV time. I could have had the number 1 finger up, looking in the camera. Ben Jordan's number 1.
Right.
What do? I jump out of the ring, get my hand raised, and run to the back. I didn't get my glory,
Right.
I was too green. I was too green for that.
Yeah.
And, that was. I thought I was going to be in big trouble, but it turned out all right. But I've never seen the guy again.
Yeah.
And I hope he's fine. I hope he don't hold up against me.
You might not
remember it.
You knocked him out and out of the business, actually. So yeah, I'm just kidding.
Tell us about another TV time your angle with Lawler.
Okay, Lawler. It was weird because like the championship time, that was weird because that was leading into Handsome Jimmy. The other time, all right, Jerry was fixing to go into an angle with Chris Champion. Well, just so happened that day, Kerry Von Erich was at the studio. That's when they were doing the Dallas thing, but everybody was up here. And the funny thing, too, I don't know if Jerry Lawler ever knew. Somebody probably had to tell him or told it about it later, but this whole thing was planned up that Kerry was going to dump this bucket of water on Jerry.
Yeah.
It was going to be the gift from Handsome Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah.
Well, Kerry goes, I'm going down the store to get 2 bags of water. I think this is in the middle of January or February.
Okay.
It's cold outside.
Yeah.
Well, Kerry is going to pull the rib. He ices the water down. 2 bags of ice, and he ices that water down. Well, Lawler does the thing. He's on the phone trying to call Valiant, whatever. Kerry comes out and says, here's your present from Handsome Jimmy, and he throws the water on him. Of course, well, who's lined up to wrestle Jerry Lawler right after that? None other than me. So, of course, he waxes the floor with me, and then Chris comes out to save me, and he beats us both up there on TV. And so, that was one of the times. And then, I don't know, something always pisses Jerry off right before he whips my ass.
What's the deal, man? Yeah.
I wouldn't trade none of it for the world. I mean, did I ever think I would be in the ring, even in the ring with Jerry Lawler?
Right. Not at that point, you didn't. Yeah.
No. And so I was glad getting my ass whipped, Hell,
sure.
Who else is getting their ass whipped by Jerry Lawler?
Right. If you got the best one doing it, why not? There's only one going to win that one for sure. So there was guys like I said, the Soul Taker, Mike Awesome, Don Bass, Brian Lee, all these guys there. But talk about some of those guys. Of course, Chris Champion.
Oh my God! Of course, me and Chris rode back and forth quite a lot. And matter of fact, he started sewing on his Ninja Turtle outfit. I remember when he showed me at the beginnings of it, saying, "Hey, look, this is what I'm going to do," and he was actually sewing part of his Ninja Turtle outfit while we were going back and forth to Memphis.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've told me that through text message, and I wanted you to say that. Yeah. I'm so happy you did because that, to me, that's funny that, and he was the first guy to actually do the Ninja Turtle gimmick. They went on to do it in WWF, and I'm sure it's been other places, but, Chris was the OG on that one for sure. So,
hey, even on TV, he comes out and saves me from Jeff Gaylord in downtown Bruno.
Yeah. Of
course, he's like, why do you do that to Ben Jordan, with his turtle voice?
Right.
I'm in on the turtle gimmick now.
Yeah, I'm in on the turtle gimmick.
But you got Soul Taker. Now, what would happen a lot of times is guys would come in and do Saturday morning TV, and it would be lined up for Memphis. Well, the show in Nashville wouldn't be till 2 weeks later. So a lot of times guys would just need to work Saturday night at the fairgrounds, and so I would get the new guy coming in.
Okay.
I was like the guy that always got to work with the new guy. And so Soul Taker was one of them, It's like he's big. And what Eddie Marlin told me, he said, Ben, all I want you to do is just run from him and then let him get a hold of you and finish you.
Yeah.
Don't try to do nothing. Just run from him as long as you can, and then he's going to finish it. He's going to do whatever is finished and finish. And he did. And they done that also with Inhumans.
Yeah. Yeah.
He come in. I like I said, I'd always get there first night because they wasn't really in an angle yet.
Right.
Because that TV hadn't showed on Nashville yet.
Right.
So it was always the new guy. Same thing with Chris Candido.
Yeah.
But I actually got to go over with Chris, and I'm like, looking back at it, like, that should have been the other way around.
How did that work? But, who knows, right?
It was pretty wild because I think we were actually doing a baby type match, and when it was called an arm drag, and we both went for the arm drag. It was almost like a double knockout because we both grabbed each other's arm and both went backwards.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah. Now, you've wrestled so many guys so far. The story, the Godfather, aka Soul Taker, whatever you want to call it. Kama, Mustafa, whatever. But, guys like that, you've already working them. But in 1991, if I'm not mistaken, you get a call from a Hot Stuff himself, and you get to go to possibly one of the, I would assume one of the major highlights of your whole career of getting to work in global wrestling. Talk about that. Because we loved Global growing up. Jared and I watched a lot of Global. So, yeah.
See, and that wasn't even around when I started. And nobody knew anything about that.
Right.
And so that was, besides, me, I was wanting to go to Memphis, Nashville. That was that's success for me. That's far enough. But,
and let me say this real quick, Ben. Because Global was basically the offshoot of World Class, because USWA and World Class combined, and they were doing Memphis and Dallas. Well, then they all move it all up to Memphis. So then World Class is no more. So Global comes out of the ashes of World Class, essentially. They're in Dallas, and it's basically, and everybody that's listening knows about Global. I'm just giving somebody some perspective on this, that basically this was a big deal, and like you said, it didn't exist when you started. I'm sorry.
No, so it's all extra. And Barry Horowitz, which I'm good friends with, he's going down. Tom Burton's going down, and they're like, Ben, you need to come down to. And me, I'm like, I'm not calling them. If somebody wants me, if they'll call, I'll go. Whatever.
Sure.
Not that I didn't think I was just thinking I'm limited to a certain amount, and I've got a job. I actually told that to Tom one day going down, and like, because he was telling me what I was and what I'm going to do, and I said, look, you need this for a living. I don't. I said, I don't have to go down there and listen to nobody. So, I'll do, But anyway, we went down there and worked, and I get a call from Eddie Gilbert, which Eddie, I don't know if he was actually booking first when we first went down there. I was doing some matches, but then Eddie got in on the book, and when he took the book and things changed, they dropped our money. And when they dropped the money, I'm like, okay, you're going to drop me down to $75. It's 620 miles to Dallas. I can stop in Memphis, get 25, go 2 more times and get 75. Why don't I just go to Memphis and get 25 and go back home?
Right.
So I said, I'll see y'all. I'm not coming back. Well, that's when Barry Horowitz calls me. Doug Gilbert calls me. Everybody told me, they said, man, they're going to put the strap on you. The junior strap, not the team strap. But, so everybody's like, you got to go down there. You got to go. This is magazine coverage. This is this, that, and the other. And I'm like, no, I don't have to go. For 75, I don't got to go.
Right.
So I finally got the call, and they said they'd give me the money that I was getting. And I'm like, okay, I'll come back.
Yeah. But now I can come back. Yeah, everybody was selling me on that belt. It was really, in the long run, that belt did mean a lot. And it goes a lot further than what little bit of money I was getting. Right. But you don't realize that at the time. I'm thinking about, I need to make money. Right. No, money is important. But, Jared, listen to these guys. Lightning Kid, Sean Waltman, Jerry Lynn, Barry Horowitz, Doug Gilbert, Eddie Gilbert. Everybody. Think about all those names. Those are Hall of Fame names right there.
Masters in their craft, man.
Yeah, and that is what... Yeah, that's what I think sets that global light heavyweight division apart. You had all the other guys, the Ahmed Johnsons, all the other guys that were in the global for however long it lasted. But when it comes down to it, I think the true jewel of global was that light heavyweight division. And Brother Ben here won the light heavyweight title in 1992, February 21st of 1992 to be exact. And he won it from the man himself, Barry Horowitz.
just to have your name in line with those guys you just read off. For my name to be anywhere in them, because I'm the least of all of them. But you know what they say about the least of all of us is best as the top. You're in there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, man.
There's nothing like that. So during that time of Global, you got to go to other places, and one of the places I'm gonna let Jared talk about right now.
All right.
So Ben, tell us about working the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors.
Legion of Doom, which I'd watched them, but I'd said this before on Wolfie's show that I wasn't really into WWF, so I wasn't into. And Wolfie knows the name of their finishing move. I still don't even know the name of the finishing move, and I just listened to it again today. But I wasn't into WWF. I liked the style coming out of WCW, Memphis.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like two regular or beefed up kind of guys got mad at each other because one of them said something about the other one's mama. And they were two guys fixing to fight each other. I wasn't in, and y'all probably grew up with the Hulk Hogan thing, and now I know what them guys meant. But back in this time, I wasn't a big fan of all of that.
Yeah,
well,
right.
So Reno Riggins is the one that organized a bunch of us guys from Tennessee coming up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, WWF, at the time, they loved the Tennessee guys because you know what? They knew we knew how to work.
Right.
Yeah.
So they would put us in the match. Well, so I get up there, and Tony Gurria's looking for guys, and I guess it helps that I'm a little bit shorter, so it made good to be the guy put up on the shoulders, and my legs wouldn't hit so much before I flipped over.
Right.
So I get picked to do that match, me and Horowitz, and I didn't even know what the finish was, and like I said before, my dumb ass just said, "Yeah, I'll do it." Then I'm thinking, what did I get myself into? What's going to happen to me? And I'm gonna tell you, that was the biggest crowd I've been in front of, and we've said it before too. It's like when they play that over the loudspeaker, ooh, what a rush! And then you see these two big behemoths, with these big shoulder pads coming out, and they're not looking too nice anyway. I know we're in the wrestling business, but still, you're in front of all these people. You never know, and you get a little bit of cold chills as they're coming down, and I'm like, okay, this can go really good or it can go really bad. So everything went good. Must have took a heck of a bump off the shoulders because when I get back through the curtain, Shawn Michaels is the first person that meets me, and he's like, "Man, are you okay? It looked like they just killed you." And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Hey, I just got to talk to Shawn Michaels, he asked how I'm doing, so I'm good.
That's pretty good, man.
My son loves to do the doomsday device to his sister off my shoulders when we're in the pool. So
I got you. The doomsday device. Maybe I'll learn that someday.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe you've got a permanent block in your brain where you took it one time. You don't remember.
That may be the problem.
Do you remember, like, did Animal like push you up, or did you just?
Yeah, he did. But which I got real nervous before the match, and so I finally kind of went up to him and asked him. I said, "How does this work?" And he goes, "Don't worry about it, man." He goes, When he hits you with the car, he said, "You'll flip." He said, I'll throw your ankles back. You'll be fine."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, good." And I'm like, at that point, and then somebody had to tell me, he's going to sit you on top of his shoulder. I'm like, "Oh, is that what they're going to? Oh, that's what they're going to do. Okay.
It's coming together now.
I just went with it. So I wanted to be, I was on WWF. I was going to be on TV,
Yeah.
So.
You take probably the best tag team finishing move of all time, too. So
yeah, legendary.
Hey, they were the world tag team champions. So hey,
yeah.
another one of them things. Like my storied career, I'm nobody famous, but I've been there with all of them, and it was fun. It was really fun.
Well, then with the world tag titles might have been the time to try a little taekwondo on them big boys,
Hey, if I'd have thought it'd work, but it's probably like, well, if it don't work, it's not going to be too good.
It's going to be ugly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're just 1 for 1 on that. I figured maybe you could slip over for the tag straps and bury it there. Yeah.
They'd have probably just swatted me off like a fly and said, "Uh-oh, now you did it, boy."
That is my fault, sir. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Yeah, we grew up big time WCW kids. We were NWA Jim Crockett Mid-Atlantic kids. You know, I've told this a million times on all my podcasts. You know, Dusty Rhodes to us was as big as Hulk Hogan, even though we liked the Hogans and the Andres and those guys, of course. You know, they were the cartoon characters to us. Yeah. Whereas the wrestlers on TV were like the working men, you know, like the guys that had dirt under their fingernails and fought and drank beer and, you know.
WWF seemed like a work. And NWA stuff like it seemed like a shoot. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, look at the Four Horsemen, man. That was you know, that's when people really started to love kind of the bad guy, right? Because they had all that. They had the class and the brass, you know.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, that everybody wanted to be Ric Flair, or if you were the buddy that hung out with Flair, you wanted to be Arn Anderson, you know.
Right, exactly. You know, so
that
be glad to be Arn.
I got that when I was in North Carolina at Cherry Point, the Marines. You know, we had to watch that too, TBS. You know.
Oh yeah.
And then that really got me. I was like, this goes right along with what I was seeing from Memphis. I love this too.
Oh, yeah. It's so good. Right. It's so good. Well, okay. So we've kind of been going through 1991. It's a massive year for you. And then 92, very early on, 92 becomes a very big year. Now, after you drop the strap, the light title, you end up going to Smoky Mountain. Now, what went on between the Global time and Smoky Mountain?
Probably can't remember that stretch. But anyway, the global stuff dropped off. And then I get a call, and I've got it on one of my mini tapes where Jim Cornette calls the house, and I call him back. And my deal is I know how to work. I knew how to work.
Yeah.
I don't mind putting anybody over. This is wrestling. Steve Kern says it best. You know, they're paying you. The world is, you know, what it is in wrestling. If they pay me to put the guy over, I'm putting the guy over. I'm going to do my best to make him look as good as I can. And so my deal is if I'm going to work for you, I don't want to just get squashed. I can do some stuff before you pin me. And what I told Jim Cornette, I said, Jim, I don't mind coming up there, you know, to put guys over. I said, but I want to work.
Yeah.
And he said, come up, we'll let you work. He said, you know, we're going to put, you know, like now the one match I did with Tony Anthony up there, they were putting him over strong, and I didn't get a lot in that, but I'd worked Tony so many times for USWA, I'd do anything for Tony.
Right.
So if they needed him over strong, beat the shit out of me. I don't care. Let's get you over.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not making me look bad, you know.
Right. But White Boy was the bad guy of our childhood, by the way. We've seen him wrestle live. I mean, we love Tony Anthony. We're big fans, for sure.
We probably booed him a lot, though.
Yeah.
I wish I could talk to him today. But I don't do social media. I got no way to get in touch with people. You know, just it's rare when I do get in touch with people. Shane Morton's my connection to the world, I guess.
He's our connection to most wrestlers. So
yeah.
We're big Shane Morton fans. So
that's how we got in touch. So
exactly.
Shane is great for that.
Shane is perfect. Yeah.
But to go back to the work and not to backtrack so much, but you know, WWF and see now. They loved the Tennessee guys because they knew how to work. Most of us were well trained, knew how to work. And like when I would go up there and work Bam Bam Bigelow, after I worked him the first time, every time I would be up there, he would grab me and say, "When was the last time we did TV?" I said, "Well, 3 weeks ago." He goes, "Let's get them to put your name up here. I want to work with you again."
That's awesome.
People like that, they come to, you know. And I remember watching Bam Bam Bigelow come to Memphis. They were watching his tapes, and I was scared to death of the guy.
Yeah.
And then it's one of the guys that treated me so good and wanted to work with me.
Yeah.
And he actually, in one of his matches, and this is when they're still coming out of the corner, he's like, I'm going to job you out the whole match. It's going to look like a squash. He said, I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to come off of my finish, the headbutt. Mm-hmm. He said, move and fire up on me.
Wow.
When he went up to do the headbutt off the top rope, all the kids had done run down to the fence, to the railing.
Right.
They knew the match was over.
Yeah, it was done.
And I fired up on blah, blah. And then he was trying a new move. It didn't come out looking as good as it should have. But he wanted to do he slingshot himself over the rope to do a splash on me for the finish. And it wasn't real pretty because it just wasn't pretty. But anyway, I was happy. So, and he was happy anyway. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And man, could he move for a big guy?
For a big guy, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For a little guy, he could move. You know what I mean? And he was a big guy. You know, there's little guys without that footwork. I know a 5'5" guy that you got. Yeah, man. Yeah, seriously, absolutely. What about Bob Holly? Did you work Bob Holly?
I did. Okay. Bob Holly was great. I love Bob Holly, but he come off the top rope for the finish with a knee to my chest, and I thought I didn't know if I was ever going to breathe again.
Oh yeah, I heard that. I've heard that.
And it knocked the wind out of me so bad. I don't know. For the next 10 minutes, I didn't know what was going on, but he pinned me after that. Thank God. Yeah, I couldn't have got up.
Was he now he was an Alabama guy. Had you met him before working him in Smoky Mountain at all?
I never had met him before. And then, at Smoky Mountain. And like I said, we had a decent match and all, besides crushing my chest in, which you think I'm going to say something to Bob Holly about crushing my chest in?
Right. Probably not. Yeah.
I've had my share of fights and I've done pretty good, but there's some people you don't want to mess with.
Yeah, you've done pretty good because you know who not to mess with, right? I mean,
you got to pick and choose.
Right. What about working with Paul Orndorff? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What about working with Paul Orndorff?
Paul Orndorff was great. The only thing that I regret about my match with Paul Orndorff, and Gary Valiant done it beautiful. Paul is like, I'm going to backdrop you. I'm going to spin around and catch you on the way down and finish you slamming you down while you're in the air.
Mm.
Well, me, I flip over too quick. I just flipped over and landed. And I could see you turn around. It's like, oh, he's already on the ground.
Yeah, oh, man.
Other than that, he was a great guy. We'd find little places to work out at in the little buildings we were at. Scott Armstrong and Paul Orndorff, we'd all be in the little weight room, working out. It was some fun times up at Smoky Mountain.
That's awesome. Now, of course, it leads you back to WWF as you were talking about Bam Bam earlier there. And was Reno still your connection for the WWF?
Reno had took a bunch of us up there. Freddie Morton, we were all working for Freddie Morton in the Independents. And Freddie had a car deal. I think we took about 3 Cadillacs full of guys. Joe Cagle. I love Joe Cagle. It was me, Freddie, Joe Cagle, Reno, Major Yates, some more guys.
Yeah.
I can't remember them all. I wish I could. And we traveled up in cars. And, Reno had made a deal with them, whatever, and got us up there. Well, after that was the first run. That was the Road Warrior, and I worked the Berserker on that run. And then after that, they got to fly. They picked a few of us, and they started flying us up.
Yeah.
And that's when I got to traveling with Barry Horowitz. Because Barry just lived 10 miles from me, and I'd pick him up, and we'd go to the airport together, and we'd use a room together. I did the room with Reno or Barry, and those are 2 great guys to travel with.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure. Yeah.
I learned a lot from Barry. And Barry, I think I mentioned it to you. I had a story about Barry, but about the texting him and calling. The way that works.
Yeah, I do. Right.
Barry, I learned a lot from Barry. Barry is, he's really structured, organized, scheduled.
Sure. And that makes sense.
If me and him are going to talk on the phone, it's going to be it's Sunday when he's doing his phone calls in his backyard. Because he's getting his son. He's got his certain time. Now, if I call him, he'll pick a time and call me back because he's on the schedule. But now on the road, that made sense because we ate our breakfast. We went to the gym. We went to the tanning bed. We went to the building.
Yeah.
He made sure all of these things happened. If it had been me, I'd have stayed out probably drinking the night before, laid in the bed till time to go to the building, wouldn't have got a workout in.
Yeah, right.
But Barry kept you on that schedule.
He was kind of militaristic, it sounds like, maybe.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, Barry's going to get a good deal wherever he goes. You can go to Dundee's and get the 222, and it's 2 pancakes, 2 sausage, and 2 eggs. And he's going to have he's going to have egg beaters. He's going to have whole wheat toast. It's going to be everything else, but he's going to get it for the $2. The $2.99.
But hey, let's just say this: he's no dummy. Let's just say that he is an old school pro.
He's what you call road smart, and he told me, And he told me several times, Ben, you got to get road smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I'll tell you this, I talked to you about bringing Barry on the podcast, and I did talk to Barry. I called him, and honestly, the next day he called me back. That man was so great. We talked for like 20 minutes, and I told Barry, I said, I wish I would have just recorded this phone call right now because it was awesome. But anyway, he's a great guy, and I think the world of him. Even just a little bit I've talked to him, I really, really can tell what you see in the man. He's a good dude for sure. I got the call from Barry Horowitz. My phone showed on the caller ID, Barry Horowitz. I'm just like, well, I'm popping for that. I don't need anything else, So anyway.
So we got you back, working with WWF some, and you talked about working Bam Bam, and you mentioned the Berserker there. Tell us, I got some other names here, and maybe just give us a little bit about those. I've got Owen Hart on the list.
Owen Hart. Man, I'm going to tell you what. Owen, probably, there's so many nice, really, to be wrestlers, there's so many nice guys in the business that, they play their persona, this, that, the other. There's so many nice guys. Owen was one of the nicest. And before I get into the working with him, the last time I seen him alive, he actually slept in, I think it was me and Reno, he slept in our floor in our hotel room.
Wow.
Because he was saving that money to send back home for his family.
Right.
And we actually woke him up because we was getting on the red eye, and we woke him up and said, "Here, Owen, get up in one of the beds and get you a couple hours of sleep." Last time I ever seen the man alive.
Wow.
And I hate it because they came to Nashville and I didn't go. I don't like to go, and I feel like if I go and I'm going through the back door,
right,
I'm imposing or something, or I feel like people are like, "What's he doing here?" I just don't feel like doing that. So
yeah.
I got a story about that too, but
please,
we'll move on to some of this other stuff.
Sure.
The Owen Hart, me and Owen, of course, I met him. He'd ride with us, room with us, and me and him are walking around the stadium, and he's like, "Hey, where'd you go to high school at?" And I'm like, "Well, I went to Cheatham County." And he's like, "Where's that at?" It's right outside of Nashville, Ashland City. And he goes to play football or wrestle, and I tell him the story. This is a guy that I've seen on TV. His brother was Bret Hart. Yeah. And I'm like thinking, this guy is asking me these questions.
What's he got, a podcast or something?
yeah. I mean, we're just walking around being like buddies.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Life was kind of surreal back in those days. I'm like going, am I really here?
Right.
Or is this just a dream? Yeah.
Yeah, and, no kidding. Yeah.
But he was great. Had a match with him. We had a match with him when he was doing the thing against Bret.
Yeah,
and he would rip the glasses up. I made a heck of a mistake, and in our match, I stood too close to the corner, and he was doing a drop kick off the top, and I was really close, and he stretched out and kicked me with that drop kick. Whoa! But it was my fault. I was standing too close, and he didn't want to. He was a professional enough not to make his move look bad.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
So
did he ever?
Dog kicked out of me.
Did Owen ever rib you?
He did rib me. He ribbed several people.
I know he's legendary, known for it. So
yeah, he's the master. Yeah. He's one of those masters.
And a lot of other people got to see more of the ribs than I did because I wasn't around him that much.
Right.
Rode with him a few times, and of course we done the like I said, he'd sleep in our room, save money, stuff like that. But great guy altogether.
What a just a massive loss it was to pro wrestling when he died. Yes,
it was.
It's one of those pay-per-views that I remember like forever. Like I was there. It's just crazy.
Actually, if I was going to have if I would have had a son as my second child, it was going to be named Owen.
Oh,
it was wow. His name was going to be Owen Benjamin. So when my wife at the time was pregnant, it was a girl, so we always joked and we were going to name her Owena Benjamina. but my daughter is Danielle, she's so happy today we didn't do that to her.
I bet so.
That's funny.
She does tell me, you could have named me Owen. Yeah. I would have went with it.
We would have rolled with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pro right there for sure.
How about Money Incorporated? DiBiase and Rotunda.
I was disappointed. We were in Nashville at the Municipal Auditorium. Me and Red Tyler.
Yeah.
And we do a match, and we're doing a match, and we go for the finish. I get pinned. I didn't get $100 shoved in my mouth.
Oh man! Daggone it!
If they put that $100 in my mouth, I'm clamping down and I'm going home with that $100.
Yes, sir.
but they wouldn't do it. Those guys were so smooth. You know, I can't think of anybody up there that wasn't really smooth. You know,
even the Berserker. Was the John Nord?
Berserker's hard to remember, but it might be because when he picked me up and threw me out to the floor, it might have hit my head.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't remember a lot about that match. I don't remember a lot. And is he still with us these days?
He is, yeah. He's still around, yeah.
Okay.
I see him signing gimmicks sometimes, so, yeah.
Okay, I've tried to look that match up. I can't find that match.
Yeah, I couldn't either. So, I've looked for it myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they took the Road Warrior match, but I've recorded it so many times on VHS tape, so I got it somewhere. Yeah.
Brian Turner can find that one for us. Hey, Brian Turner, find the match for us, brother. So, see, that's one thing about missing on social media is the Brian Turner's VHS rehab. You get to see yourself on a video. But anyway, I'm sure you've seen yourself wrestle plenty of times. So
I love Brian Turner. See, him and my son gets along with more of these wrestlers, or not that I don't get along with. He communicates with more of the wrestlers in the generation under me than I do. Him and Jeremiah Plunkett, you know, and all these guys. And I'm like, how did you get to know him? But he met them in the dressing room and then became buddies.
Yeah. Did he ever think about getting in the business, your son?
Let me tell you, I've got a wrestling ring sitting right out there in my backyard. Has been sitting there since COVID hit because we had nothing to do. So we set my ring up. I actually bought that from Jamie Dundee. And who? Shane got me in touch. He said Jamie had a ring for sale. And I said, well, my son wants to train. And so it's been sitting out there. And my son don't get in. If I would have had a ring like that in my backyard, you couldn't have stopped me.
Yeah, seriously.
Every day.
Yeah. Jared and I would have had broken necks.
Our mom would have killed us.
Yeah.
But yeah, he talks about it. And he wants to have a match, and me and him in a match, and I'd love for that to happen, but you got to get up off your butt and get out there in that ring.
Time's ticking, buddy.
And if I ever train my son Russell, if he ever train him, I'm going to train him. Then Jeremiah Plunkett's coming over to train him.
Yeah.
Bill Derek Neal, one of of my favorites, is going to come train him.
Just on AEW, by the way, you know?
Yes. I just talked to him about that. I'm like, oh, my God, AEW. And it's like, there is hope for the future. I get to see Jeremiah. I get to see Real Deal and Eric Deals. So I may get to see all these guys. I may get back to watching wrestling.
Well, you know, what's funny, Ben, I'm going to say this out on the open here. So you had told me to get in touch with him for a while. And honestly, we've got a list, and I want Derek Neal on the show. But now I'm like, I don't want to ask him like right now after AEW. You know what I'm saying? Because now it seems like I only want him for AEW. And it's like, no, I actually wanted you before that. And tell him, Ben, Derek, if you're listening, Ben, you texted me that like 3 months ago, right? So
I texted him and told him that I was trying to get y'all together to do the podcast.
And now it just seems like, and now I'm like, man, I can't just text him now and say like, hey, Derek, how's it going? You want to be on my show? You know, like it just seems bad timing, but I like the guy. He's a big Reds fan. I've always been
he's a great guy. And I've known him for a long time, and he calls and checks on me and we talk, and he better not pull that star stuff on us. You know, don't forget where you came from, buddy.
No, it wouldn't be like that.
He's too good of a guy.
Yeah, no, we'll get him on. I just want to let this AEW stuff cool down, but I better not because he's likely to get picked up by him, and then it'll be really over with, you know? But anyway, yeah, man, that's just awesome. But yeah, okay, so obviously you're wrestling a lot of guys in the WWF. Some names like Jerry Lawler, obviously working with him. And how was working Lawler again after all this time?
Oh, man, I actually got to get some moves in on him up there.
Yeah, so yeah, like, exactly.
Hey, it's like Dorothy, we're not in Kansas anymore. Hey, Jerry, we're not in Memphis anymore. But no, it was all him. He called it all. You know, he's like kicked me from the back. Because he was in the angle with Doink the Clown, so had me out there getting the crowd to chant Burger King. And I got to do the moves, where he hits his face and I drop kick him from the back and he hits his face in the corner. he does, he called all of that. I mean, that was all him. And, but, it was great. I'm like, dang, Jerry, at least I got some moves this time,
Yeah.
So.
Well, the manager putting the fingers on the apron and he would stomp them. That's a classic Lawler. And whenever he gets to work with a manager, well, I managed Dutch and I knew that Lawler liked to do that. So I just casually laid my hand up there, and obviously he worked his way over there and stomped it real big. And I worked later with Shane at the Saw in Millersville, and it was great. I did it, and I was managing against Shane. It was before he and I worked together, and he stomped my hand, and he said, Jimmy, that's awesome. That's a real Lawler thing right there. And I said, where I did that first? And he said, who? He was thinking I did it all the time. And I said, with Jerry Lawler. So, it just tied it all together that the first time I did that was with Lawler. And I had seen other guys do that. It's not like I invented that, finger stomp.
That's a good little part to the show. You got to entertain the crowd. So much of this stuff today, when I look at it, and I don't look at it much, just seems like let me see what all I can do, how many flips I can do, what all I can do. Yeah. 10 other guys run down, we're all doing it. And I'm like, can the crowd even keep up with what's going on? Which maybe the modern crowd can. I know people that were in the crowds when I was going to, you had to be a little bit slower. And they're not saying nothing about them. I'm just saying you told the story to them and they loved it. And then you get the heat, you get all the, but sometimes I'm wondering now, is it just too fast for anybody to pick up on? And you probably don't have the older generation that used to come to wrestling, the grandmas,
Right.
Man, those, they made it.
Right. Well, more of the story is told on the microphone and less of it in the match. Whereas back in the day, y'all didn't even need the microphone because you could tell the whole story in the match. And I think that's, if that's one sentence I can save and keep and repeat, and that, I think that's one of the things that I think about modern wrestling is so much of it is told. Because, nowadays they can take two guys just because they're #dream matchups or whatever. They'll throw them in there with no build up. And it's like, well, why not build that up some, this dream matchup, and really make it epic instead of just randomly throwing it on a pay-per-view or on a TV, a 15-minute segment on a TV channel. It's just, that's the thing that bugs me about modern wrestling is there's just not enough storytelling. Some people say it's selling. Yes, that's a big part of it. But again, part of storytelling is selling. It's all Shakespeare, it's all that, you got to have all that. And that's brutally missing from current product. Absolutely.
To shoot back to when Lawler beat me and Chris Champion up, some of the comments on the thing was Ben Jordan sold that flip over the desk. It's like people don't sell anymore.
Right, exactly.
It's like the quote from the Shawshank Redemption of the old man when he gets out of prison. He's like, the world went and got itself in a big damn hurry.
Amen.
That's the way they feel about the wrestling sometimes.
Yeah.
You got wrestling, every night of the week, which is great in a way.
Right.
When you had to wait for it, kind of like waiting on Christmas, you love Santa Claus. If Santa Claus came 4 nights a week, you probably wouldn't care if he came or not.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. You go.
I mean, it's like, oh, it's Santa Claus again. Oh, man, Santa. Oh, do we have to have Santa Claus again? Oh, man.
Same old Lane toys. Bring me something new.
Right. I'm tired of this. I've got enough train sets. I've got enough army men. Come on.
Join me, Gene Jackson, for the Jackson Interaction Podcast, where I'll be doing one-on-one interviews with people from the world of professional wrestling, as well as stand-up comedy. You can get them anywhere podcasts are available in both video and audio form, but you can find them all at genejacksonpod.com.
Hey everyone, this is Shane from Insane Shane's World. I release wrestling figures of enhancement talent, mid-card wrestlers, and wrestlers that you never thought would have a figure available. So if you're interested in adding a really cool and rare figure to your collection, then don't hesitate to contact me at shamtheman73@gmail.com. That's SHAMtheman73@gmail.com. You can also join my Facebook group. Just search Insane Shane's World.
Now, we talked about this match on the Wolfie show. And, you did go, so right now you're USWA, you're global, you're WWF, you're global, you're Smoky Mountain, you're WWF, and then it leads you to working into WCW. How did you get and start to work in WCW?
A man by the name of J.D. Wolf. And, J.D. was a heck of a carpenter, this, that, and other.
Again, no relation to Wolfie, but
no. I think his last name's Wolfenberger,
right,
or something like that.
Right.
JD was a great guy. We worked some independents together, and he, go back to Barry Horowitz. We were at independent, and he noticed I had the boots, I had the look. He's like, he picked me out of the people. Was like, you come work with me. I'll take you here, take you there. JD's like, hey, you want to go to Atlanta with me? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm real good friends with Jody Hamilton, and we'll go down. And so, yeah, sure, I'll go. A good story about that. I went down there and worked at Center Stage doing the TV. I worked Rick Rude, worked Harlem Heat, which I knew them from back in Global days, and they were great guys to me. And then the Colossal Kongs.
Yeah.
Worked those.
Were they managed by Harley Race that night?
I think they were.
I think so.
But the big thrill was we had to get a hotel room. I think we're doing 2 nights. And JD's like, hey, kid, don't worry about the room. I'll get the room. He said, we're going to room tonight with Grizz Smith. And I'm like, that's Jake the Snake's dad. That's
right.
Sam Houston's dad.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. You know me. I'm like, hey, okay. And then, of course, I'm not paying for the room anyway. So there's 2 beds. There's 3 of us. I said, give me a blanket. I took a blanket and a coat and rolled it up for a pillow. I slept in the little closet. The reason I slept in the closet, which was a wide walk-in type, not real big, but it was a wide closet. So I laid down, put my little bit, because I knew old men usually have to get up in the middle of the night.
Right.
Several times. Especially like me, I knew this back then.
Sure.
JD's a little older. Grizz is quite a bit older. They're going to be making the trail to the bathroom in the middle of the night 2 or 3 times. I don't want to be getting kicked and stomped on or trip them up. So I just rode my little happy ass up in the closet, and I slept just fine right there.
Yeah.
Of course, I was a Marine, so I could sleep anywhere.
Right, right. That's awesome.
So I was just honored to be there.
Yeah. So really, the WCW run was not a whole lot. I mean, you did a few things.
I didn't get a bunch of bookings or nothing. I think Chris Michaels had some bookings or something like that down there. But I just did the TVs. Went down with JD to do the TVs. Some guys over.
Yeah, we talked to so many guys recently. Gator McAllister had a nice little run down there as Gary. Gator's awesome, man. Gator's very quickly become almost our #1 episode by now. It might be actually, because he's hit that with the quickness, and it's funny. I never thought anybody would beat Shane Morton, and then now Rick Reynolds did, and then now I never thought anybody would beat Rick Reynolds, and now Gator's about to. So Ben, you got some.
That's your target, Ben.
Yeah, Ben, we need you up here, buddy. So.
Me, I don't have social media. I don't got a way of getting it out. I mean, I don't know.
Just tell somebody.
Going to be a big. I'll tell a neighbor and call a friend.
That's all that matters. Yeah, call it.
Right.
That's it. It's like, tell
a neighbor and call a friend.
Yeah.
But, Gator called me and Steve. Now I think he was about to go through the divorce. Then somewhere around there, they needed somebody to work the Bushwhackers.
Right. At the motorcycle rally or something deal?
No, this was at a building.
Okay.
That we done, but they needed somebody, and they needed somebody. There was other guys that could work, but they needed a good, reputable tag team come in that would be a good match for them.
Yeah.
So Gator called us, and we went and worked the Bushwhackers and had a great time, had a heck of a match.
That's awesome.
See, and that's happened to me and Steve in our past, just because I was trained well, Steve was trained well, and people would call us. Jeff Jarrett had just signed a contract, was working in Paducah, Kentucky, for Tony Falk. Tony Falk, the great Tony Falk. Everybody's got to do this. But anyway.
Paducah, Kentucky.
Paducah, Kentucky, Tony Falk. I love Ben Jordan. Ben Jordan is a good friend of mine. He'll come in and work Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett just signed a big contract. And Jeff don't need to get hurt. Jeff need to work with somebody.
I take good care of him.
So Ben Jordan will come in there and take good care of Jeff.
That's the shoot, Pally.
And so Jeff dropped Tony the strap to me, and it was because Jeff asked Tony, "Hey, bring him in."
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I was told. I mean,
yeah,
it could have been made up. But later on, after I got run over and I was out for a year, when Jeff would have a matchup over Tony, he would ask for Steve.
Yeah.
So,
that tells you a lot.
Like that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned him. Speaking of Steve, how about telling us about the Wild Boys formation, how you got together, and y'all were some awesome baby faces, man.
Me and Steve grew up together. But now, Steve has we have a cousin between us. Me and Steve are not kin.
Okay.
But I have a first cousin that my first cousin's aunt was married to or dated Steve's uncle.
Okay.
So they grew up like first cousins. And so I didn't when I became a teenager, I wanted my cousin to hang out with me. Well, he'd say, "No, I'm gonna go hang out with Steve." And I'm like, "Steve? Why do you want to hang out with Steve for?" So
I know that. Yeah, we know that.
I never liked Steve. My brother liked Steve. They was buddies.
Okay.
But my cousin. So I'm like, well, I'm at wrestling at the fairgrounds, and all of a sudden, Steve shows up, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to train me to wrestle." So we would wrestle on a mattress in my cousin's backyard. Me and Steve, he'd be on the other team. Me and my cousin and Steve and another guy, we'd wrestle on the mattress in the backyard. And of course, Steve was about 7 years younger than me. So anyway, later on, he comes to the fairgrounds wanting me to train him, and I'm like, "No, don't think so." and let me back up. When Steve was an all-star athlete at Harvard High School, he set records. I got out of the Marines and I started following Steve's stats in the Tennessee, and I would go watch Steve play football because he's a football star. He's a football star, basketball star, and a baseball star. I was none of those.
Right.
And I was going to go watch him, and then I'd wait at the fence like a fan, wanting to see Steve. Well, I finally waited around long enough. I'd say, "Steve Neely?" "Oh, he done left." So I missed Steve all the time. Well, then when he came to the fairgrounds and was asking me to train him, I said, "Nope, ain't doing it. I'm going to be the only one from our side of the family there. That's my deal.
Right.
I'm doing that." He kept on. And finally, I give in. And I said, "All right." So I took him. I had a cousin. His name is Sam. And Sam used to be the security out at the Stadium Inn. Sam Norris.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Little did I know that Sam is a cousin on my mom's side. He's kin to me too. Bill actually trained him, and we found this going to Knoxville to watch Bill wrestle, and we got talking about the same race car driver in the family, and it's like, oh well, we're kin. So okay, so anyway, long story short, I'm kin to everybody. It's a small world. But anyway, Sam has a ring at his house. And I take Steve over there, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to run him off pretty quick from this. I literally, let me if I can say that right, I tried to kill Steve.
Yeah.
Not really kill him, but tried to hurt him enough to where he didn't want to wrestle. Steve, I should have known he was an athlete, and he was a natural athlete. He hung in there. The garage we trained in had a leak in the roof, so we could only train in the corner of the ring where it was dry.
Oh,
so,
man.
The middle of the ring is what gives.
Right.
We're over in this corner, and I'm clotheslining, body slamming him, suplexing him, all right in this little corner here. And I'm like, if he don't quit after this, after we got done, it's like, "You tired? You want to go get a beer?" "Well, yeah, let's go get a beer." Well, next thing you know, we're drinking beer, watching wrestling tapes. Then we become buddies.
Yeah.
Become buddies. And then finally I said, "Dadgum, I can't run him off. I might as well train him."
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, Steve, I don't know, Larry Bird is a great athlete, but I think he has to work at it.
Sure.
Michael Jordan is a natural athlete.
Sure. Yeah.
Steve Neely is a natural athlete.
Yeah.
Ben Jordan has to work at it.
Right.
I have to do all my dribbles and everything. I have to keep on dribbling the ball, to get it where I can dribble and pass it to the other hand.
Sure.
I have to do it over and over. Steve just picks it up and does it. Steve is the better wrestler of me and him.
Okay.
He's better. I taught him how to wrestle, but once he knew when he knew it, he just, like I said, he's a natural.
Yeah.
So, but
that's awesome.
Finally, then I turned him loose. He has a couple matches, and I'm like, all right, go be your wrestler, because I like singles. I only want to do singles because I can control my own destiny.
Yeah.
Well, and I've been in some tag teams. I've got a tag team with Billy Scott or with Gary. I was always their third man.
Okay.
And so one of them couldn't be there. I was their tag team partner. Then I teamed up with Tracy Wynn to we were double trouble. Tried that to go against my sister and Dante when Billy and Gary couldn't. And then me and Tracy didn't work out. So I didn't want the tag team no more. Well, finally, Steve's like, let's be a tag team. I had this. You know how you used to do the mixtapes? You didn't put all your songs on it.
Oh, yeah.
I had that song. They'll go boom, 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 boom. Wild Boys. I just saw, even when I did the other tag team, I didn't want to waste that name.
Right.
And finally, when he said, let's be a team, I said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right.
Yeah.
I said, I got the name already. I got the music already. I said, we just got to get the gimmicks, the outfits. And, hey, it took off like striking a match. And of course, I knew we needed the spot that Billy and Gary had with Mephisto and Dante. And we're getting out of all the WWF, which that was kind of intermixed. But that independent scene seemed so much more exciting than what I was doing.
Right. Right. Because it was give and take in the independents, and you got to actually show and tell stories and extended stories. And it's not you going up there, pin me, pay me, and I mean, you talk about the Scotts, two great shooting wrestlers, Gary and Billy Scott. Billy spent time in Japan, Gary in the WWF, then he became Gary Valiant, which, he'll be a future guest. I hope they all are. And then, of course, you guys take over the feud from Dante, and then the Mortons end up taking it over from you all. But when it comes down to it, I'm sitting here thinking the Scotts were kind of almost like the Steiners in a way. You know what I'm saying? But you guys were like the Rock and Roll Express. You know what I mean? Yeah. We had a different thing. We had that thing that was, we were the commercialized version. We're trying to get the fans. Billy and Gary went out there and went hog wild. They was just, I learned something from them. And I'm going to tell you, let's back up. I'm wrestling in the fairgrounds, first match every week. Billy and Gary's coming to me wanting to get trained to get in. They get trained. They hit the independent circuit. They start getting hot. Well, on my nights off from Nashville, because every third week they do the flea market, so I'd be off. I'd work for Freddie Morton in Columbia. I'd be out there in the first match with Joe Cagle, which was great. I love Joe Cagle, and one of the original Heartbreakers. And, I was working, putting guys over in the first match down there, just like I was doing at the fairgrounds. Billy and Gary are a year after me. They're in the main event blowing the place away. And I'm thinking, and I'm watching this over and over. They seem like they're gaining steam. I'm still putting guys over. Right.
I'm getting a little bit here and there, but I'm like, that looks so much more fun to me. so anyway, what would happen after I wasn't getting as booked as much with USWA? If they needed somebody, Eddie Marlin knew he could call me. He'd call me, hey, Ben, can you make fairgrounds? Well, I'd call Freddie Morton up, and I'd say, Freddie, hey, Eddie called. I got to go to the fairgrounds tonight. I can't make it to Columbia. Okay, no problem. Just, call me. We'll set up another. I kept doing that to Freddie. I kept saying, and Freddie is Shane's cousin.
Right.
That's Bud Morton's son. And after a while, I said, look, this thing, I've done petered out at the fairgrounds pretty much. They done brought in other guys that I wasn't getting my move up spot.
Sure.
So I pretty much, the phone call came. I was booked for Freddie in Columbia, and Eddie called me, and I said, I'm sorry, Eddie, I'm booked. And that was pretty much the end of that.
Yeah.
And so then I moved into the independent scene, and then I started climbing the ladder. Then I get to work people for, like, the Tennessee title, like George Weingroff, just like I heard on the podcast today. And man, talk about having some matches with him. Man, night off and 30-minute to an hour matches with this guy.
Right.
So the independent thing, I had more fun on the independents, really.
That makes sense.
Stuff was good for knowing who you get to work with, but the independent scene was a whole lot more fun.
Yeah, because it's really, you're getting the tit for tat. You're getting those matches, those 30 minutes, those matches, the blood and guts. And that's what y'all were all about. There's a million pictures of Dante, Mephisto, and the Wild Boys literally beating the blood out of each other. And I mean, there's pictures that you can't even tell it's you and Steve. It's just two bloody faces with hair, you know?
we loved that. We loved it, but in a way, but then there was times when we got ready, we were like finally like and then ECW started up, and people were like, "Y'all need to go to ECW." We're like, we've been doing this for years now. We're tired of it. We wanted to go back and actually have wrestling matches. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, we thought who could take our place, because you got to have somebody who can step in there with Mephisto and Dante. Right. And we used to hear stories. People say, "Hey, Steve and Shane are stealing y'all's moves. They were in Paducah last week doing y'all's Mexican arm drag. They were doing it." Well, you know what? The Mexican arm drag wasn't ours. We stole it from somebody else. Right. You know, you always and at first it kind of got us a little like, what are they doing? You know, but then like Shane had said, you know, he was imitating us, and that's an honor that they even wanted to be like us. Right. And when it come time, we were ready to step down, get out of those matches, get a break, go back, do a little bit of wrestling, get all the blood and guts. And we're like, who would be the best team? And we got this young, good-looking tag team called the Morton Brothers. Yeah. And so we pitched the idea to Tommy. They pitched it to Shane and Steve, and the rest is history. They went on to have a great history with Mephisto and Dante, just like we did. Yeah. Might even had a longer, better one. Yeah, I mean, it's right there with one another. And I think anybody that got to witness those matches is a lucky person, because, you know, all six of you guys, the Scotts, the Wild Boys, the Mortons, all six of you all had an incredible tag team to work with. I mean, putting over Dante and Mephisto verbally and physically is two great things to be able to do, because man, those guys are so good at the job. I mean, they're heat magnets. They just are so good. No matter who is standing with Tommy Heggie, whether it's, you know, Mike Porter, you know, Arvel Hutto, Tommy Cool Breeze, Rick Reynolds, whoever's with them, you know, you're in for a good night with those guys. Again, it's going to beat you, and you're going to get your ass kicked a little bit. But exactly. And just to go back, I worked Mephisto and Dante when it was Mike Porter and Tommy Heggie, and I worked them for Dale Mann when Dale Mann took his crew out to Kansas or out west. Yeah. First main event match I ever did, me and Danny Steamboat, looked like Ricky. It was Danny Steamboat. They come in, and Mike Porter said, "We're going to work you on the main." And I'm like, I'm the first opening match guy. I'm not the main event guy. He's like, "Ain't nobody else here but you." Yeah. So we went out and did a 2 out of 3 fall match with Mephisto and Dante. Then I get in the deal after Billy and Gary, and it's Tommy and Cool Breeze. Yeah. And then we come back later on, and it's Arvel Hutto. And in the meantime, we got the Devil's Disciples, which is Damien, which is Rick Reynolds. Right. And then we got Pete Cannon, who's the giant scorpion that's in the Devil's Triangle with them. Right. So we got all these great people working this tag team. Yeah, and great teams. Jerry, check this out. When we stepped out of the ring with these guys, then look who we got. We got the Hickersons, which were the Angels of Death at one time. We're wrestling these guys we didn't know because we never seen their face for 2 years. Great matches with them. Then you got Troy Eaton and Mark Gordy. Such great chemistry. Then you got the Bruce Brothers, which was Hot Rod Biggs and Chris Kern. You had the Bad Boys, which was Chris Kern and Lonnie Lane. Right. And, you know, then you had the BWO, Shane and Steve. I mean, we just had it great in tag team wrestling. Yeah, man, you did. Well, I tell you what, let's pause the things on the Wild Boys, because we did a show with you on the Wolfie D episode that, you know, we talked about you guys separately almost, basically. The way we kind of, when you rehear it, you kind of hear that it's more about the separate careers. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to bring the Wild Boys on for an official part 2 of that episode. I done told it all. We can't.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. I don't believe that for a minute. But what we're going to do, we're going to save that and we're going to give it the proper give me back my pro wrestling treatment, and we'll put that down the line. Let's pause the Wild Boys because Steve's not here. We'll get Steve on. We'll tell the full story like we need to now.
And Jimmy, and not to cut you off, but if we need to pull some of this out and save it for that, is fine too. Whatever works for the whole podcast. I don't care, No,
not a bit. Not a bit, brother. We're good. I think we're fine. I just wanted to stop it there because I don't want to tell too much of the story because we're planning to have y'all both on in the future. So with that being said, we're going to bring the name game into focus now. Are you willing to play the name game, Mr. Ben Jordan?
I am. Hold on, I got a list of names. I'm going to see how many of them you hit.
Okay, all right. I hope I hit them. If we don't, you name him, and we'll bring him up too, okay? All right, we're going to have Mr. Wild Boy himself, Ben Jordan, on the name game. DJ, hit the music. All right, we are back with the name game, and the very first name on the list on this name game has to be the man himself, Mr. Bill Dundee.
Oh, what would I have done without Bill Dundee? He trained me. He was my idol, and I actually got to get trained by him. I love the man. Just can't say enough about Bill. He was a superstar, should be in the Hall of Fame.
That's beautiful. Yeah, he really is. He should be in an official Hall of Fame. Absolutely. 100%.
How about Chris Champion?
Love Chris Champion. We traveled the roads together. Bunch of great ideas. Got to wrestle him in Shelbyville as Yoshi Kwan in a scaffold match, which the scaffold was at the roof and the light bulb was so daggum hot. If you didn't watch out, you'd back into it and burn your back. But had great matches with him, had great times with him. Was in the Marines watching them as part of the new breed. Never imagined in my life I'd be traveling on the roads with this guy.
How good was he, honestly? I mean, how good was he in the ring?
Well, and when I'd seen him come to Nashville as part of Wildside with his brother, March, let me get it right. I want to say March Star. Chris Champion March Star. Okay, yeah. And seeing them, and I'm like, hey, that's the guy from the New Breed. And then just saying, no, he was excellent in the ring, out of the ring. He could do it all. He could do the promos. He could do the matches. And he's the one that done all those kicks, and that's why I wanted to get in a Taekwondo to learn some kicks. But I should have known my little old legs ain't going to do like that. So, he went up there and worked a heck of a deal with Jerry Lawler, and that was on the People magazine show. Yeah,
great guy.
Talk to us about Brickhouse Brown.
Love Brickhouse Brown. Brickhouse Brown treated me, he treated me so good. We'll get in there and he'd say, now, Ben, let's just do this. We'll call it in the ring. And he was just, everything he did, it made sense. And he was always good to me. Loved working with Brickhouse.
Yeah, Brickhouse, man. What a loss. Absolutely.
We lost.
Yeah. Terry Daniels.
He was good to work with. We didn't jive that well.
Gotcha.
He was doing a Marine gimmick and had an afro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got the dress blue with the thing, and it's like, if you're going to be a Marine, you need to shave the head. You need to have the look.
Right. I could see where that would be a bit of a weird thing for you, for sure.
Me and Barry used to talk about that, and Barry's like, was he really a Marine? Could you tell if he was really a Marine? Because he wears the yellow boots, and he's got the dress blue trunks with the blood stripe on the side. And I'm like, I really can't tell. But, no, he was a fine guy. He was okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What about old Jeff Gaylord? I've heard a lot of stories about him. I
love Jeff Gaylord. Couple things. Jeff Gaylord, he would get stuck in the middle of a match.
Yeah,
I had to work him several times, and I'm like, hey, Jeff, why don't you press line me? You're a big guy. I would always just give him them big power moves. Not a big clothesline, because he would get kind of stuck in the match on not knowing. Not that he didn't know what to do, but you could tell he was trying to think of something to do, and I'd just call it for him. I'm like, hey, press line me.
Yeah.
Hey, give me a big power slam. Clothesline me.
Looked like the Ultimate Warrior. Yeah. He looked like the Ultimate Warrior, Kerry Von Erich, those guys, the jacked dudes, had incredible bodies, good-looking guy, just really had it all together. Yeah. Just sometimes maybe didn't always have it fully together in the ring, but, what are you going to say?
Yeah, Yeah, and just to go back a little bit, after I knocked the guy out on TV, I worked Jeff Gaylord as a Texas hangman, and he was really stiff with me. I don't know if I had gotten over too much with the knockout, that it's like got to get brought back down.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'd worked Jeff several times, and he was stiffing me so bad. I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to get mad, and you're a big guy, we're about to fight. But he was a little rough on me that next week. But I just think it was just I was out of place with my knockout on TV, that maybe I needed to be brought back down.
So, I've heard other guys say that he was stiff, but it felt like he didn't mean to be stiff. Like he just didn't know that. Yeah, didn't know as much,
I worked him enough that the week after I knocked the guy out on TV, he was meaning to do
a little extra, a little more receipt to that. Yeah.
Might have got a little word in the ear. I don't know that, maybe I need to get back down to my job boy status and put me back in my place, which I'm fine. But I survived it. So
yeah, right. Well, the next one I have on the list is one of my favorite interviews of all time that I've ever done, been a part of, is Steve Kern.
Love Steve Kern. Man, I grew up idolizing. I seen the guy when I FaceTimed the other day. I don't know if you knew what we were at a cornhole tournament, and there's a guy there, Bobby Smith, that worked out at the gym where Steve Kern and Stan Lane worked out at.
Oh, wow.
And this guy's big enough, he should have been a wrestler.
Yeah.
He always talks about Steve Stan, but Steve Kern, Stan Lane treated me really good too in WWF when he was in the office, and when I worked him as the Heavenly Bodies. Stan was great. Steve was great. I always wanted to be just like them two guys. Wanted to look like them body-wise and wanted to be like them, because Steve had that more of a like I'm the tough guy one.
Right.
And I wanted to be Steve Kern. I love Steve Kern.
Great guy.
Treated me good.
Great guy.
How about Chris Michaels?
Love Chris Michaels. We seen each other at a show. This is the last show we did. Me and Steve. We had Kevin Weatherby was our partner. We wrestled Tony Falk and Farron Fox with LT, because we had to have the two young guys that could get in there and go. Yeah. I don't like to make wrestling look bad because I can't get in there and go, but you do some of these things for the fans.
Right.
And so, but then we got in the back, and me and Chris sit down, and we was talking some old time stuff. His path went one way, mine went the other, but then we took it all back sitting in that dressing room, and it felt really good. I always give Chris a big hug when I see him. We started out at the same time together.
I've heard guys say that they've tried to have a bad match with Chris and couldn't. So that's how good Chris is. He's one of the true underdogs. Yeah. And
I've had several matches. I've seen matches like on Brian Turner's or this and other. And I'm like, I forgot me and Chris worked. And then I got one on one of my videotapes that Scott Teal did, and it's me and Wolfie at it's on Woodland Street. It was pre-Saw wrestling.
Okay.
It was TJ Weatherby in them, but it was me and Wolfie doing matches. And I'm like, wow, I forgot about that.
That's awesome.
All right, this next guy, I truly think that if he hadn't passed away young, that he could be doing some amazing things in the wrestling industry. Hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert.
Love Eddie Gilbert. And, it's funny. We were on our way to Dallas one time, and he goes, Ben, smartest one in the car. And I'm like, what? He goes, you got a real job. And you know what? And I'll have to go back to Bill Dundee on this too, because Bill told me when I first started, keep your job. Do this on the side. If something goes, you can quit that then.
Yeah.
Hey, 35 and a half years later, I still got my job.
There
and I'm going to get it paid. So, I mean, I've loved doing this, but, if you ever watch the movie The Wrestler,
yeah,
so many guys take that path.
Right.
And it's like, I lived kind of a double life. I don't live my gimmick as far as wrestler.
Sure.
But I've always had my life, my family, and I've always done the wrestling too, but I knew how to separate it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wonder, what if I would have put it all in, or would I have been like the wrestler?
Yeah. Yeah. It's tricky because, there's so many guys that will almost not argue about who's that story, like that's my story, I believe, but it's not really that they could argue that it's about them. It's just that it lines up so well because it's almost like a rule book for what a wrestler went through, especially from that era, and it's so similar to so many guys' stories. That's just how it works. So, All right, the next one is Colorado Kid Mike Rapato.
I tell you, I love working Mike. We got a good story that goes on the Wild Boy thing about Mike Rapato, about him before he got into business. We used to go to Gentleman Diamonds when we get back from wrestling, and he would follow us around. And we're like, what's this guy want? What's that? Is he fixing to jump us or what? He was wanting to train to wrestle. He was Mike Rapato. But no, me and Bert Prentice, that's a whole story in itself of different working. Me and Bert Prentice did good business together. He knew how I felt. I knew how, things went. And when he needed a match for Colorado Kid, like, we got to have somebody in Lebanon. We got nobody. Bert Prentice would call me. And I'd say, well, my deal. You know what the money I want. He's like, if you can't do that, I won't do the match. But if you need me, you want me, I'll do it. Me and Bert Prentice always did good business together. And me and Colorado had some good matches, really good matches.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, he's an excellent worker. I'm actually thinking who trained him. Can't remember.
Well, Tony Falk, he showed up at Tony Falk. And part of the reason I think some people said he had an ego, he had a big ego, but, Tony Falk saw him the very first day and said, hey, you're going to be a champion. You're going to be one of the all-time greats. That's what Tony tells him. And so he comes back in. And what are you going to say to that? After that, I mean, no, I've got no issues with Mike, but, my that laugh of his, it's pretty legendary stuff. But anyway, he's just he's a good guy. We had a great interview with him. It was a lot of fun. I definitely appreciated having him on the call. Anyway, Colorado Kid for sure. Interesting career for him. He did some cool stuff too. So, well, the next one is, of course, we've talked about him a little bit before, but Gary Boogie Woogie Boy Valiant.
Gary, I'm going to tell you, we go back as far as like a brother to me. I love him to death. I mean, you could almost say we're family. But,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Me and him would always go to we did a lot of trips together. A lot of times his girlfriend would call and say, hey, come get your boyfriend. Y'all go out of town together. Stuff like that is funny. But yeah. We travel a lot together. We get along good, love Boogie, love Billy and Gary, loved his parents, both of them have passed on, and, Buster that used to drive us all everywhere, but, his mom, great woman. And she was one you always loved to see at Bass Elementary School when Billy and Gary were fighting the Devils. The police would have to come, or the security would have to restrain their mom. And she would just about whip everybody in the building.
Yeah, I believe that. That's funny. That's hilarious.
She was tough. She was tougher than Billy and Gary both. So
wow, that's pretty tough.
Miss Linda, she was something. But no, I love Gary. We've been in it together forever. Like me and Chris. I'm probably closer to Gary than Chris because just me and Chris went his way, I went mine. Right. Never a dispute. We've always got along. But me and Gary rode the roads a lot together. I was always the Billy and Gary stand-in. I was their third guy. I was the Michael Hayes and the Fabulous Freebirds. I was the third guy always.
Right. And, Chris kind of went under the tutelage of Tracy and, a lot of those things. And so the next one I got on the list is one of my mentors, one of my friends, a guy that I feel like even I'm in North Carolina right now, but if I needed something, I could count on him and he would try to be here for me if he needed to. And that is Mr. TNT, Shane Morton.
Man, what can you say about Shane? Shane does everything for everybody.
Yeah.
He's so dedicated to the wrestling business and to the wrestlers. I think he loves this business more than anybody I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it, but I can step away from it and be without it. But Shane loves this business, and I think it hurts Shane's soul to see what wrestling, where it's going now. But it's I think maybe Wolfie's. The world changes. Everything changes.
Right.
Or at least I heard that on a podcast. But, you know, it all changes. We can't keep it the same.
Right.
But I think it hurts Shane Morton's soul to see it change.
Right.
Because I know how much he loves it. I remember when Shane, Freddie wouldn't let Shane wrestle. Shane was too little. But they didn't know what it is. They didn't know how tough Shane was.
Right. Right.
It didn't matter how little he was. Shane was he's one of the toughest men I know.
Yeah.
And don't ever tell him to punch you as hard as you can, because we were doing a fair show in Lebanon one night, and then we were fighting down the midway, and I think it was him and Gary against me and Steve, and all these teenagers hollering, "Oh, it's just fake bullshit." And I said, "Shane, hit me hard as you can."
No.
Oh, and he did.
No.
He did, and I seen stars, and I'm thinking, no, don't do that again. I can't take another one. But no, Shane loves this business, and he does so much for the guys in this business. I can't thank him enough.
Yeah,
I'm glad to call him my brother in the business, because I truly love him.
Yeah, he's an unofficial he's not on the payroll as of yet as our talent liaison. Let's just say that. He's been a big help for this podcast.
Brand ambassador.
He's definitely that. Yeah, he's been great.
Well,
so,
I mean, he's in contact with everybody. I'm like, but I don't got Facebook, none of that stuff. I can't handle all that.
I get it.
I think it's an age thing, but anyway.
I get it.
All right, you mentioned him earlier. How about Dante?
Dante, Mr. Tommy Hagee.
Yeah.
Man, I think, the Wild Boys would have been the Wild Boys. We would have done okay, because I know the formula. You know, once you learn it, you know the formula. But Tommy, I think the Wild Boys are so elevated because of him. Having our matches with him and his mind for this business, he's one of the greatest minds in tag team wrestling. And, I don't see why he's not one of those guys that's up there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anybody
Absolutely.
should have ever made it, Tommy Hagee should have made it. You know, we all think the same thing. Well, why didn't I make it? But if anybody deserved to make it, it was him.
Yeah,
you know?
Great. He had a great look, he always kept himself in shape. He could work, had a great mind, there's all these pluses on his side, and maybe, you never know. The man shared a gimmick with the Macho Man, so what are you going to say to that, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he made the Scott brothers, he made the Wild Boys, he made the Mortons.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We would have all been tag teams in it doing something, but there's a million other tag teams too.
Right.
But everybody didn't get to wrestle Mephisto and Dante.
Right. There's a funny story about, Wolfie talks about this all the time, and he said that they were tired of getting beat on by the fresh from Japan eliminators, so they decided to bring in Tommy and Cool Breeze, and then, of course, he has to deal with Cool Breeze. It's like, why did I do this? I love it. I love it that Wolfie and them brought them there. I'm thinking, damn, Wolfie, if me and Steve could have only had that spot in Memphis with them and done all the blood and guts and all this, maybe it could have went. Oh, man.
Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish we could have got that spot. But, when we were trying to make it, Memphis spots were hard to get. They were kind of locked up.
Right, right. Yeah.
I didn't call Eddie or anybody down there and say, hey, give us a shot. I was like, no, it's useless. I just give up on it.
Understand. And it did become the Randy Hale show there for a little bit too, so if you had an in with him. But anyway.
I got to insert a story here.
Yeah, please. Please.
The American Eagles. Do you know who they were?
That was Danny Davis and Danny Davis. Bill Dundee. Thank you. Sorry. What was I thinking?
Who were the two stand-ins when they had to bring Bill and Danny out from under the mask and they still had to have the American Eagles?
That was you and I'm not sure.
Todd Morton.
Oh, man. Okay. Awesome.
Is that fun?
So little Midnight Rider style stuff there. That's awesome.
Yeah. We got to come in and be the American Eagles when they had to bring them. We all had to do like the big four-way to where you bring them out from under the mask. And,
that's awesome.
Fun. I thought I'd throw that in there.
That's very cool. I love that. Well, the next guy on the list has a somewhat sordid reputation with some folks. Some love him, some don't say all the nicest things about him, but I'd love to hear Big Bully Douglas.
Big Bully Douglas. Okay. Now, when he come in early on, had long hair, the hillbilly,
Mm-hmm.
And he took a lot of advice from me and Steve. He was really good. And then there seemed to be a change, seemed like to be an attitude change a little bit, and was harder to get along with. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, turned into a bully.
But then we worked in Lebanon with him long enough that we kind of everything got back pretty decent with us.
Yeah.
With Bully.
Yeah.
But there was a time when I love the guy, and I'm going to tell you, when he was the big hillbilly, it's like you couldn't ask for a sweeter guy. And then all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute, this guy is Steve Austin, like in real life. He's like, I'll shave my head now. I'm the badass dude.
Right.
Like,
right.
We're still all working here.
But, he went from the scuffling hillbilly to a big bully.
Big bully Douglas, and it seemed like the attitude. I don't know if it was part of the work or part of the thing, but it seemed like the getting along with the boys was a little bit different with him. But I'm glad we worked with him long enough in Lebanon that we ended up on a really good note with Bully Douglas. He was a good guy.
Good. That's good. That's good. What about when I say the two words hot chocolate? What does that bring to mind?
Corey Williams.
There you go.
Williams. I think Corey watched me when he was a kid. That's the running joke. Anyway, he come along to Memphis right after I left Memphis and everything. And then we'd run into each other, Independence and all. And then he actually, I'd gotten a divorce, and he made a remark about my ex-wife sitting in the crowd. And then I turned that into a gimmick with me and Patrick, Blaine Miller, and Steve as a tag team or a trio called the High Infidelity.
Yeah,
and we came out.
Awesome.
We came out to the song "Love Stinks," and that was all because of what Corey Williams had got in the ring and said.
Wow!
Yeah, wow!
That's amazing.
And we'd had several good matches with Corey. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we worked him and Ashley Hudson as New South or their tag team. But I've worked Corey several times. Great guy. Great guy.
Absolutely.
All right, you did your impersonation of him earlier, and it was a mighty fine one about Tony Falk.
Tony Falk, I love Tony Falk.
That's a shoot, Pally.
That's a shoot, Pally.
That's the shoot, Pally.
And it was great. I sent Jimmy my birthday message, and Tony and LT was on it.
It's a great video. Yeah.
Tony has treated me like $1 million ever since I met him. I'm happy to say my last match I ever had was with Tony and LT. And I'm going to tell you, and I'm like the rest of the guys, you really don't want to get in there when you can't make it look good anymore. But sometimes, because I was late in life having grandkids and stuff, sometimes you want to see Paw get in the ring.
Right.
But, I guarantee you, if you come to see one of mine and Steve's matches now, if we do them, we're going to have a young guy in there that can work because we can't do that much. And I don't want to do that to the business. And I understand guys not ever getting in there again because they don't want to do that to the business. But sometimes you got to give the fans, especially like those reunion shows, kind of got to give them a little something. And we did that. But there's not going to be too many more of them.
The wild boys turned to wild men or mellow men.
This is where these podcasts come in. This is what I tell people now. I don't wrestle anymore. I talk about wrestling.
Amen, brother. Well, if you ever want to get, Ben Jordan's answer machine episodes off the. No, I'm just kidding.
Let me get them all together. I think we'll do. See, I do that, and then I get to think about them. Like, no, I'll piss that guy off and piss that guy.
Yeah,
I overthink it really.
Sometimes you just got to jump, Ben. You know how it is. Doing them top turnbuckle jumps, you just got to do it sometimes. But
all right. Right in the middle, I got to put another fun. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay. We started out at the same time. We're the same age.
Yeah.
Okay. We're at Nashville Fairgrounds. Steve's a big, good-looking guy. He's really big. When you get up, he's bigger than you think he is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And he's got this long blonde hair trying to be the good-looking guy, Steve Williams, but Steve Austin.
Right.
And we're at Nashville Fairgrounds. He's living at the Congress Inn. He's not making any money. I've got a job, so I was banking my wrestling checks every week. I'd go Evansville and get my check and put it in the bank, make a car payment. These guys were living off this $40.
Right.
Okay, Steve Austin is in there. Steve had gotten the flu or gotten sick. And thank God we didn't have COVID back in them days. But Steve had gotten sick and had lost some weight, and his pants wouldn't stay up. And so me and Steve are in that little dressing room there at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and he goes, "Hey, Ben," he said, "can you help me find a piece of rope or something to tie my pants up with? They won't stay up because, I've lost this weight." But him being a Texan, wanting to find a piece of rope, I'm thinking of Beverly Hillbillies,
Yeah.
He's going to take a piece of rope and tie his pants up.
No, man.
So we're looking all over. There's nothing to do, So that was a funny Steve Austin story. I've never spoke to him since he became Stone Cold and became, what he is.
Yeah.
But I had went to WCW. Me and a guy, we were going to wrestle the Harlem Heat. We were waiting on Mike Graham and Bill Dundee with the agents. We were going to talk to them. I was standing in the hallway. Here comes Brian Pillman coming by, and they were the Hollywood Blondes at the time. And Steve Austin comes by spitting in the cup, which he's quit that now. He comes by spitting in the cup, and he looks over, and I'm like, I'm not going to say, "Hey, Steve, remember me?" No, I'm just, I'm going to leave them alone. They're stars now. I'm nobody.
Right.
And he comes walking by spitting in the cup, and he looks over and said, "Ben Jordan, how you doing, boy?" And I'm like, "Hey, he remembers me. Back in Nashville." And he goes, "How'd your shoulder ever get where injured my shoulder?" He asked me about my shoulder, asked me what I was doing, and everything. Nicest guy in the world.
That's awesome.
I would like to run into him he's seen a million guys, probably wouldn't know me from Adam, but back then that was a big deal for me. He was a Hollywood Blonde, and he remembered me.
That's huge. Yeah.
"Hey, Steve, remember me?" No.
Yeah. Well, when you were telling that story, I remember a story that he had told before where it was either he or Dutch who said it. Jeff Jarrett's, he's the son of the promoter, and he's he's driving in Corvettes and all these nice cars and doing well. And he's like, he goes into the locker room one day and he says, "Hey, none of you boys are on them steroids, are you?" And it was either Stone Cold or Dutch that says, "Hell, Jeff, we're not even on food."
Yeah. That goes to give you another story here. We're wrestling at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Mike Awesome, like I said, new guys come into town and I get stuck with them or stuck against them. Mike Awesome comes to town. Big muscle up guy. I have to go over to Congress and meet him, give him a ride. Bruno did the same thing, giving the guys the rides and stuff. And so I went to give Mike Awesome a ride. So they teamed me and Mike Awesome up against the Dirty White Boys. Well, the Dirty White Boy, Tony stayed pretty much, but he had Tom Bird and he had different people. And this time he had Alex Porteau.
Oh, okay. The pug. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm wearing a scar from Alex. I love Alex. But anyway, we're in a match at the fairgrounds against the Dirty White Boys, and Mike is green. He's green in grass.
Yeah.
And, which I'm like a step ahead of Mike. I've been in it a little while. Well, we're wrestling Dirty White Boys. Well, Alex had come in and he was wearing biker boots with steel toes. Well, now they had been fighting the Southern Rockers, Steve Dahl and Rex King, two guys. I got whole stories about them.
Oh,
but anyway, they'd been complaining because their ribs were getting beat up with them steel toe boots.
Oh man!
Well, anyway, we're in the match, and Alex is going. What he's doing, he's going to lift his leg up to kick me on top of the head. Well, on his way up, he catches me right in the eye with them steel toe boots.
Man,
splits my eye wide open.
Oh,
okay,
man.
I'm coherent. Hey, I'm at Nashville Fairgrounds, and I've got juice. I got blood.
Right.
I'm liking it, because I'm in the wrestling business.
I know what to do with this. Yeah.
Hey, Mike Awesome is looking at me from the corner. He goes, "Oh my God, Ben, your eyeballs hanging out the side of your head. What are we going to do?" And I just kind of look over at him, and when I whisper, I'm like, "We're going to finish the match. We're going to finish the match." So we finished the match. Well, Dad, I got the picture, and I said to you, Bill Dundee comes to the ring. He knows something ain't right. I'm not supposed to get color. Your undercard guys don't do that. That's for the main event. And so he comes in because he trained me. He comes, yes, man. I've got another picture that goes with that picture, and it's Hot Rod Biggs, which is a fan, standing there. I only get the back of his head, but if it's not Hot Rod Biggs, I'll kiss your ass. It is Hot Rod Biggs.
That's awesome.
So anyway, and there's this girl there, a young girl. You can tell she's done reached over and wiped some of the blood and is looking at it on her hand. Like, hey, is that real? Okay. So we get back to the dressing room, and this night, Jerry Jarrett didn't come to all the matches all the time. Okay. Jerry Jarrett was there, and of course he was spitting in the cup. That was kind of a common thing back then. And he looks over at me and said, kid, that's pretty good gas you got there. And I'm like, yes, sir. He goes, do you got good insurance? And I just thought, well, matter of fact, I do.
Yeah.
I go to Baptist Hospital, and they're like, what'd you do? I said, I was wrestling, got kicked in the head.
That's awesome.
That's cool story. I thought that was
Yeah, that's a great story. I'm glad you told that. I've actually never heard that story. You sent me the picture and you're like, I got a great story with this. I'm glad you told that. Okay, so I've got two more that I'm going to ask, and this will be the official end of the name game. So the next one, the Weatherbees. Talk about wrestling the Weatherbees.
I'm going to tell you what, two of the young kids I love to work. They listened. They did what we said. And, we'd get them over whatever we needed to do. That night particular, I don't remember because there's so many of those nights.
Yeah.
And like I said, I wish, but we were on our way out. We done turned half of our career. We were in good shape and we were babyface. Half of the way, we were like beer drinking old guys, like big fat guts. It's like, okay, now you're heels.
Right.
Heels.
Yeah.
You're ugly fat guys. So we became heels, and so that's what we done. And then we were on our extra leg. That we done decided we're not buying any more wrestling gear. We'll just wear like camouflage pants and damn combat boots.
Right.
I'm not buying no more wrestling gear because I'm done.
Right.
And that lasted longer than we thought. But to get to wrestle the Weatherbees, that we were like, these are two guys that are really into it, and we're gonna do all we can for these guys.
Yeah.
And got a good fairground story, but probably needs to be on the Wild Boys podcast.
Well, we'll save it for that one then. But
and just remember this: Bill Dundee comes to me, and we're the tag champions, or they are, and whatever we're doing for the tag champ, because we got 2 or 3 different promotions wrestling there for this thing at the fairgrounds that night, and we're wrestling the Weatherbees for the heavyweight champion tag belts, and Bill comes to me. Bill Dundee's there. I think him and Lawler worked that night. And he's like, what are you doing? Why are you even wrestling these guys? I mean, he's looking at me like, look at them. Look at y'all.
Right.
And because we'll save the rest of that for the next show.
Kevin and Cody, great guys, big fans of the whole Weatherby family. TJ's one of my favorite people ever. And Kevin was the one that took the whole business really serious. I don't think Cody really ever wanted to do it as much, but he was really good at it. So it was like it just came so natural to him, and to see them work you two, it was awesome. Very, very fun guys. And we'll get them on the show on down the line, the Weatherby family and stuff. But when it comes down to it, we've got one more name on the list, and we couldn't end up the name game without asking Steve Neely.
Man, he like I said, he's family now.
Yeah,
we became best friends.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, and we can go several months without talking, and because everybody's like, "What's Steve doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I ain't talked to him in 3 months."
Right.
But my wife and his wife are good friends. We're all good friends with all. We do a whole 4th of July parade over where he lives.
Yeah.
And me and Steve, when we get together, it clicks. But when we're not together, we don't worry about one another because we know we're going to be all right, and we'll see each other down the line.
Yeah.
So it's been great with me.
It's like an old book.
And the best trainee I ever trained.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's like a book when you dog ear it. You may not read it for a week or 2 or a month or even a year, but then you go back and it's open and it's there and it's dog eared and you can pick right up where you left off. So
exactly.
That's hey, Ben Jordan, that is it for the name game on the episode.
Jimmy, I got 2 names for you: Quentin Charisma.
Okay.
Kroll the Death Star.
All right. Okay.
See how I did that to you? Without those 2 guys remembering everything that ever happened in wrestling, where would we be?
Exactly. Amen. Seriously, that's a great point. That is a great point. Yeah.
Quentin was great to work with. Kroll was great to work with. Got a whole story with Kroll when me and Steve were the bookers at Tennessee City, and we wanted heavyweight champions. So I've seen a match, a videotape of Kroll working Big John White. And I'm like, I want two big guys like that can move as my heavyweight champion. And that's who we brought in. Whole thing. And then like Quentin, me and him had so many great matches. But they are the ones that remember everything. I mean, they are the historians. And next time we have a reunion, Quentin has to be disqualified from competing.
Right, I'm sure. He is a true historian.
Than I do.
Yeah. He is a true historian. We're going to hopefully get to do something more with Quentin on down the line in a different project. But yeah, two great guys. I talk to Kroll almost weekly, sometimes daily. It depends on how good the previous episode was. You know what I mean? And Kroll really is Kroll does a lot. Just when I get to bounce ideas off of him, he's one of my guys that I go to and I'll be like, what do you think about this, man? I'm thinking about maybe trying this. He'd be like, and if it doesn't really land with him, I'm like, yeah, it probably ain't that great of an idea. You know what I mean? And he understands promotion. He's also one of the original content creators of this industry, of this scene that we talk about so much. He's one of those he's the OG of that era of actually having videotapes of guys and pictures. And, we got to shout out Steve Bowtie Bryant too. Without his photographs, so many people wouldn't have, I wouldn't have promotional imagery for my podcast without Steve Bowtie Bryant. You know what I mean? Hey,
Steve Bowtie Bryant, got a story there. He's the one that got me in Wrestling Furies. And Donna LaRue called me to do an interview with me. She sent me these questions. I get on the phone with her, and I'm talking to her, and she says, wait. She said, your accent, you don't sound like you're from Australia. I said, well, I'm not. She goes, well, everybody thought you was from Australia because Bill trained you. I'm like, no, I'm from Tennessee. but Steve Bryant, those wrestling cards that he advertises, he got that from me.
That's awesome.
Because my nephew was playing baseball, and they had us buy these baseball cards of the kids.
Yeah.
And I said, whoa, hey, I'll put me on one of them. So I call the people, and I send them a picture, and I get a wrestling card of Ben Jordan. Well, then Steve sees it, and he's like, hey, I can do something with this. He said, how did you do that? I said, call these people. So then it's the Unbeatables. It's really a little league thing that they do for little league ball players.
That's
not
amazing.
even a real card thing, And so they made a whole series for Steve Bryant.
Oh, yeah, I've got a set. I was happy to buy the set because it's such a good deal of all the guys in it. I mean, honestly, some of the guys aren't no longer with us in the set, but it's my goal to get every one of those guys interviewed. So that's as many of them as I can, even the Fireball, if he's available. It's a great set. It really is. He's a sponsor of the show. Very appreciative of Steve Bowtie Bryant and his stuff that he's done. Yeah.
Randall done all of our videotapes, and I gave all of mine to Scott Till. I need to get them back because they're not getting. I need to get them to Brian Turner.
Yeah, Brian Turner is your man for sure. Yeah, but those guys you brought up, Quentin, absolutely plan on doing something more with him. Kroll's always welcome guest on my shows. Like I said, he's actually become a really good friend. I've gotten to know him even better than when I was working for him back in Nashville. And like I said, he's my litmus test to see if something's worth doing. And also, he's just he's a bit of a cheerleader for me. He lets me, he's like, hey man, that was really good. This is working. Do that. Keep it up.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. You're probably going to trim it down a bit because I talked a lot, and but you make the best show you can make out of it. I'm sorry if I went too long on some stuff, but hey, and another guy I got to mention. We got three good guys that are junior that are coming up. That is Real Deal, Derek Neal.
Oh yeah.
Jeremiah Plunkett.
Oh yeah.
Scott Spade out of Chicago. That's Rick Reynolds' guy.
Future guest. Yeah.
Those three guys are what we get to look forward to in the future.
Man, those are three stellar names, and heck, man, that's a cornerstone of a good promotion right there in my book, you know? So, and Plunky's literally one of my, I mean, honestly, just one of the greatest people in my life. Derek Neal, think the world of. Scott Spade is a future guest along with Derek Neal. Once this AEW run cools off, I'm going to be okay with bringing him on because I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to join. Anyway, Jared, you've always got one more question to wrap it all up here. Go ahead and ask the question, brother.
So, Ben, it's a tough question because you've had so many matches. But if you had to think of one, or you could give us two, talk about your favorite match of all time.
You had to ask that, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, my God. I can't say a particular match. I really can't. But I'm almost tell you the Mephisto and Dante feud, any of those matches would fit right in there. Me and Horowitz in Global. But I'm going to tell you, really one of my favorite Global matches is with 1, 2, 3 Kid, or Lightning Kid. It was Lightning Kid, but Sean Waltman.
Right.
Watch that match. See, I can't, because then there's Jerry Lynn.
Yeah.
Me and Jerry Lynn. And we had to do a 12-minute babyface match.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, just pick. I can't.
Okay, we'll pick and we'll do that. But Ben, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Man,
this was an epic show, really was. And I know we haven't turned over every stone, but we tried to turn over quite a few.
We did a lot, and I'm glad I got to talk with Jared, and because I've been listening to y'all's podcast, and it just feels like home now because I listen to so many. Talking to y'all, it's been fun. Y'all brought wrestling back to life for me, because you ask my wife, it's like I'm a fuddy-duddy when it comes to things. Not interested, not interested. And then this has lit a fire into my ass again. So,
well, hey man, it was our pleasure to have you on, man, and great conversating with you, and we'll have you back anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We've got about 1 million more stories to tell. So if you run out of content,
just call old Ben up, right?
Yeah. I'll give you something to talk about anyway.
Yeah. Well, you got Brian Turner. You're all over his channel. Obviously, you're a big part of my podcast. The next guy we need to hook you up with is Insane Shane Martin, because we desperately need some Wild Boys action figures, man. So that's.
Hey, I love Shane. We worked with him. Worked on shows with him. Great guy. He was one of the most entertaining. I wish I could do an interview like him.
Yeah, he's fun. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. He doesn't believe he's like, they don't want to hear my old hillbilly ass, and I'm like, come on, man, we're all hillbillies here.
Shane is great. I love it. I listen to his whole podcast. I love it. It takes me back,
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on, Ben. Thank you for supporting the show as much as you do. Thank you for listening, but thank you for sharing your stories, and just thank you for being my friend, man. You mean the world to me. I like I said, I didn't know you during my active time in the business, but when it comes down to it, I'm still active. You're still active. Right now, we're active. So just thank you. I love you, brother. Take care. We'll talk soon, okay?
I appreciate y'all having me on. It's such an honor. Jared, glad to talk with you. Jimmy, love you. We'll keep texting. I'll send you a bunch of stuff you'll get. Tell me to just quit sending them because I'll send you too many.
No, never. Well, we'll start promoting this bad boy and see what we can do with it. But I can't wait to see you up in the top spots. So
if it don't do any good, don't blame me. It's Jared's fault.
That's it.
It
must be Jared. Well, thank you so much, Ben. You're the best.
Thank y'all so much. Hey, I love it. Y'all just make wrestling fun again.
Thank you. That means a lot, bro. Yeah, that really does, man. Really, really means a lot.
This is one of the things you didn't see coming, just like cell phones with cameras and videos on cell phones. It's something I never saw coming.
Yeah, I've been listening to him for years and wanted to do one for years, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I went ahead and asked Wolfie D to do it anyway, and he was like, okay, and sure enough, I'm this deep into it, and I'm finally starting to figure something out.
Well, you've got fun. You and Jared, y'all got it. I wanted to go back and get the beginning all the way through, and I'm trying to do that.
Yeah.
And it skips around some, and I'm trying to get it out. because I don't watch wrestling, so this is my thing now with wrestling.
Yeah.
So,
well, if some of the episodes are not out and available anymore because they were just focused on bullshit, honestly. And so I just said those don't matter anymore because it was a big, long deal, Ben, and I'll fill you in on it some other time. But
I got you.
Well, all right, brother. We'll talk soon, buddy. Take care. Thank you. Have a good night. It really means a lot, man. Love you too, buddy.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Good night to y'all. Good
all
night.
right, bud.
See ya.
Take care. See ya. Well, for Ben, the Wild Boy Jordan, my brother, the Plastic Sheik, Jared Street, I'm Jimmy Street, and we'll be right back after these messages to wrap things up with the Plastic Sheik on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
If you're a fan of rock and music, I'd really appreciate it if you took a moment to check out my podcast. It's called the Decibel Geek Podcast. We've been doing it for about 10 years now. We talk about Kiss. We talk about Ozzy. We talk about Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and Metallica. We talk about all the legends from the 60s and on, up to brand new bands that you should be hearing about today that you're not going to hear on the radio. It's Decibel Geek. Wherever you find your podcasts, you'll find us there. If you love rock and roll, I can almost guarantee you're going to love my show.
This is The Big Picture, Michael Jablonski. Don't forget to tune in every week to Jablonski's Pissed Off on the Mike Jablonski's Pissed Off YouTube channel.
The what's wrong in this sport? He's gonna tell you all about it. He doesn't care what you think. You're gonna hear all about it. Mike Jablonski. He's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski. He's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski. He's so pissed off. He's pissed off.
Oh man, Sheik, Ben Jordan, is he awesome or what?
Dude, I mean, I don't know what it is about this. I just feel like we're on a run right now of like continually topping it. I mean, I know we're sitting at Gator at number 1 right now, but
yeah, congrats to Gator. I
could see Ben Jordan coming for that crown. So
absolutely, yeah.
It was a good episode. It felt good. I don't know. It's just one of those in the moment. You're just like, wow, this is pretty good. And I felt like we could have went another hour with Ben easily. So
yeah, and I specifically stopped it because, obviously it all leads up to the Wild Boys. And I do want to have Steve Neely on with Ben in the future with the Wild Boys, And, part of the people said we didn't go far enough on the Wolfie D show. I don't think we did either. That's Wolfie's call on the time limits. On our show, however, we don't have those same time limits. So we want to go full on deep dive with this. We're going to go deep dive. And so we just kind of said, hey, Ben, from start to Wild Boys, let's tell your story. And then after that, we'll bring Steve on and y'all can do the tag team thing together. And then we'll let it finish their career. And I think that's the right way to do it. And honestly, man, Steve's great. It'll be a lot of fun to have them both on. And we'll have an official Wild Boys Part 2, Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling Style. And we'll have them on coming up soon, hopefully, whenever we can get it all worked out. But I'm definitely excited for that. Ben's just a great guy. Honestly, he texts me almost every other day, if not every day, and he just has something always cool to talk about. And he's so humble. I mean, he's kind of similar to Quentin and a little bit like Arvil in that he's really humble. He doesn't understand why people are all about him and stuff. And that just, I don't know. That's just something that shows me what a good dude the guy is. And we've had stellar shows that have just blown the doors off this thing, from Jeff Daniels, Shane Morton, Kroll, Hot Rod Biggs, to, Jeremiah Plunkett, to Cassidy Riley, to Chris Michaels, to Doug Markham. Then we have Gator McAllister, Dante and Mephisto. I mean, there's just so many great shows that we've had. But, I feel like this one might be one of our very best, man. I really do.
Yeah. And I'll attribute it some to, I feel like I get more comfortable with each one of these we do. You're a professional at it. I feel like I get a little more comfortable with each and every one we do. So it probably helps that I'm maybe getting better at this. So.
Well, hey, we all are getting better at this. So, thank you for saying what you said, but I think you're doing great, bro. I need you as much as you need me. So we're in this together for sure. But, we did say something there real quick. Gator did take number 1. Rick Reynolds held on to it for a long time after Shane Morton holding on to it for a long time. And honestly, Jared, to be honest, Greg Gagne is about to drop out of the top 10, and Greg was our our number one for a long time, one that we never thought would be beat. And sure enough, Greg has finally almost dropped out of the top 10. And I tell you, it's funny. And I just love this. I love this role we're on. I'm feeling good about it. I will say on our next episode, I'm even more excited, as if we could not even get more excited. Next episode, we've got Eron Hatchett, aka Norrie Havoc. This was a Jerry Jarrett picked wrestler. He was trained by the Jarretts. He just a smidge too late to be in the true territories. He came along at the very end of the USWA. He's a shooter. He's a great guy. Got a great story. We're going to have a blast with him too. Again, bang, bang, bang. And then after that one, I think I've got Chris Kern knocked out. So we're going to have Hot Rod Biggs, old tag team partner from the Bruise Brothers. That's going to be Chris Kern coming on very next after Eron, as long as all the schedules line up properly. I know we've got Scott Spade coming up too. Hopefully get Plunky back on. I mean, there's so many cool names out there that we've got that we can pick from. Just really excited to just talk to these guys and honestly just to hear their stories, you know. I'm gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm here for it, brother. Can't wait.
Yeah. Well, as always, we thank you all so much for listening, supporting the show, as you always do. You turn out in droves. By the way, if you can, please, if you go to Apple or Spotify, you can rate and or review the show. Please, if you've got a 5 stars in you, we appreciate it. Any review you can give, we would love to hear it, and thank you so much. Also on YouTube, give us a like, follow, notification bell, whatever you want to do on YouTube. We like it. Comment, do whatever. We appreciate it all so much. We'd love to hear from you. Also, we've got an email. It's GMBMPW if you want to send us an email, maybe about something you'd like to hear in the future. Or the DMs are open on all of our social media sites at GMBMPW on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. So anyway, with that being said, man, I think, you know, we had a lot of time for Ben today, and I don't want to wear the listener out by rambling on here, but I just appreciate you, Judd. Appreciate Ben for coming on. Thank you all so much once more for listening. You have anything else you'd like to say before we go, brother?
No, brother, I'm good.
All right. Well, happy birthday one more time. Happy birthday to all of our wrestling buddies that had it on the very same day as you. We might have to do a live podcast next year or something. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it'll be fun. But anyway, that sounds like a good idea. All right. Well, again, for the Plastic Sheik, Jared Street, for the Wild Boy, Ben Jordan, I'm Jimmy Street, and this has been Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Don't forget.
You know, when we started this show, I was saying fight forever because that was something that Terry Funk said, and AEW co-opted it for their video game, and I quit saying it because I felt like maybe some people would read it as I was taking it from AEW, but all along I was saying it because of Terry Funk. When I was in a dark place, didn't have cable, wasn't doing everything right in my life, I didn't have a lot to do, so I was watching old wrestling tapes. And I would watch every High Spots DVD that anybody or anywhere I could get, whether it was on YouTube, or whether it was on a bootleg disc, whether it was in Plunky's DVD binder, whatever it was, I was watching as many High Spots videos as I could. And they always ended with Terry Funk saying that over and over again. And like I said, I was in that dark spot. Things weren't going good for me. I wasn't making good decisions in my life. And I kind of feel like subconsciously, Terry Funk was telling me to don't quit, fight forever. And I'm still here today, kicking, doing better. Life's good, married, happy. So normally after Don't Forget, I would say fight forever, or I would say something else that would work for the show. But today, I'm going to give that honor to the legend, the Desperado, Terry Funk. We'll miss you, Terry.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Fight forever. Don't give up. Fight forever. Don't give up. Fight forever. Fight forever and ever and ever and ever.
With a tear in my eye. This is the greatest moment in my life. This has been a James Rock Street production.